100 years earlier, the sky above Earth split apart without warning, a terrifying rift tearing reality open and unleashing hordes of dimensional monsters onto the planet. Humanity was pushed to the brink of annihilation, and only those who awakened supernatural talents had any hope of resisting the invasion. Among the survivors was Yayin, an orphan struggling to survive alongside his little sister, the last person he had left in this world. The problem was his talent ranked among the weakest imaginable, a pathetic low-tier ability that filled him with constant fear, especially when he thought about whether he could truly protect her if disaster struck again. But one night, everything changed. During a strange dream, a sinister energy surged through his body like lightning, sending pain ripping through him from the inside out. When he finally woke up, a glowing notification floated before his eyes, something completely beyond human understanding. An unknown system had appeared, granting him a terrifying new power, the ability to copy other people's talents. And the very first talent available to him belonged to his own sister. At that same moment, the cheerful pigtailed girl proudly presented the meal she had made for him, braised pork, his favorite dish. Watching her smile so innocently while the scent of home filled the room, Yayin couldn't help feeling warmth spread through his chest. Even after receiving such a miraculous ability, there was no way he planned to experiment on the only family he had left. Still, he couldn't ignore what the system revealed. His sister's frost talent was legs beyond his own weak rank 1 ability. It was incredibly rare, and once fully awakened, it would make her overwhelmingly powerful. Quietly, he hoped their parents could finally rest in peace knowing she had the strength to survive. Later that night, Yayin pulled on a hoodie and headed outside, determined to test his new power for himself. Activating the talent detection ability, he quickly realized the range was pitiful, only about 3 meters. Surrounded by crowds filled with mediocre low-tier talents, the tiny radius felt unbelievably frustrating. He wanted to find something stronger, at least a mid-tier ability, but every signal he picked up was disappointing. Even so, another thought lingered in his mind. Maybe it was finally time to join an academy. Normally, someone with a weak talent like his would have been written off immediately, but now things were different. With the power to copy talents, the entire future had started to shift in his favor. One thing became crystal clear to him: he needed an academy that didn't blindly judge people based on talent rankings alone. That idea led him straight to Linhai Base 5th Academy. As he approached the campus, mid-tier talents surrounded him everywhere. Students from the academy walked proudly through the streets, carrying abilities far superior to his old rank 1 talent. But instead of feeling inferior, Yayin felt something else entirely: confidence, because deep down he already knew something they didn't. Sooner or later, his copied abilities would let him surpass every single one of them. 10 days later, inside Martial Stadium No. 3 at Linhai Base 5th Academy, an instructor lectured the students about the path of cultivation. According to him, anyone hoping to become a true martial warrior first had to reach the stage of martial apprentice, and that journey began with mastering a body training technique. The instructor explained that the key was forming an air vortex in front of the chest. Only by creating that vortex could someone prove they had grasped the foundation of martial training. The students immediately began trying to imitate the stance, but most of them struggled horribly. Some collapsed from exhaustion, others fainted outright, while a few nearly lost control of their breathing entirely. Yet through all of it, Yayin remained standing. Suddenly, one student panicked after noticing someone had passed out, but the instructor didn't show even a shred of sympathy. He coldly declared that weaklings were irrelevant here. Anyone incapable of forming an air vortex had no future as a martial warrior anyway. Meanwhile, Yayin fought his own private battle. He followed every instruction perfectly, but absolutely nothing happened. No airflow, no reaction, not even the slightest movement of energy. Frustration started boiling inside him as he cursed his pathetic low-tier talent for holding him back once again. Eventually, the instructor lost patience completely, calling the class the worst group he had ever taught. Nearly every student had collapsed by then, everyone except Yayin, who was somehow still standing despite barely holding himself upright. The instructor sneered and told them they should learn from Chen Dong instead of behaving like lazy failures. Later, Yayin turned toward Zhang Bao and asked who this Chen Dong person even was. Zhang Bao immediately lit up with excitement. According to him, Chen Dong was basically a legend among the students. In only half a month, he'd already become a martial apprentice, and his talent was so impressive that even the principal personally took him in for special training. Hearing that, Yayin naturally assumed Chen Dong possessed a far higher-tier talent than anyone else there. Meanwhile, Zhang Bao proudly pulled out Chen Dong's autograph like it was some priceless treasure, claiming that once Chen Dong became famous, that signature alone would probably cover months of rent. Yayin could only stare in silence while the guy puffed up with pride. Then suddenly, the atmosphere exploded with excitement. Students everywhere started shouting after spotting Chen Dong approaching the area. The crowd instantly rushed toward him, desperate to get autographs or even a single interaction with the Academy's rising star. Zhongbao practically launched himself forward, ready to bulldoze through everyone just for another signature. At the same time, Yayin quietly observed Chen Dong from the side. The guy carried himself with confidence, and his mid-tier talent made him one of the Academy's most admired students. Chen Dong casually explained that he had only come to encourage everyone on behalf of their teacher, clearly unwilling to embarrass himself in front of his peers. But while everyone else focused on admiration, Yayin had a completely different goal. He deliberately pushed forward and insisted on shaking Chen Dong's hand, instantly causing the crowd to erupt with envy. One by one, students rushed to grab a handshake too, until eventually it became Yayin's turn. The moment their hands connected, Chen Dong casually wished him good luck. And right then Yayin understood. Later, a glowing status window appeared before him, mid-tier talent copied, ready for fusion. Even now, he still didn't fully understand why that mysterious lightning had struck him in his dream, but he shoved those questions aside and focused on the opportunity in front of him. Without hesitating further, he selected the fusion option. Instantly, unbearable agony tore through his body. A violent pain exploded inside his chest like his heart was being crushed alive, and his mind felt as though it were melting apart from the inside. Collapsing onto the floor, Yayin finally realized that stealing power came with a brutal price. After enduring the torment for what felt like forever, the system finally confirmed the result. His cultivation talent had successfully evolved into a mid-tier talent. Despite the horrifying pain, Yayin believed it was absolutely worth it. That suffering had bought him something priceless, a completely new future. The system also revealed another crucial detail. The copy ability only required a 30-day cooldown before it could be used again. For someone like him, that basically meant endless growth potential. Now carrying a mid-tier talent, he immediately attempted the body training technique again. This time, the difference was overwhelming. As soon as he settled into position, a small tornado-like vortex formed directly in front of his chest. Everything flowed naturally now, as though his body had finally awakened. For the first time in his life, Yayin started believing that becoming an elite martial warrior might actually be possible. Maybe even reaching the level of a great martial warrior wasn't just fantasy anymore. A month later, beneath the pale glow of the moon, a savage wolf-like monster raced across rooftops at terrifying speed. At the same time, a father and his daughter were casually discussing dinner plans, completely unaware of the danger approaching them. Meanwhile, Yayin had officially become a martial apprentice, though he still remained far from reaching the level of a true martial warrior. Thinking about Chen Dong receiving personal guidance from the principal, he figured that Guy was probably progressing much faster than anyone else. Then suddenly, everything turned horrific. The lantern in the father's hand smashed against the ground as the monstrous wolf pounced on him without warning, killing him instantly. The little girl's scream shattered the silence. Yayin froze in horror, his face turning pale after witnessing the brutal scene unfold right in front of him. Panic immediately spread through the streets as people realized a monster had infiltrated the city. Desperate screams echoed everywhere, everyone shouting for others to run before they became the next victim. It was the first time Yayin had ever seen a real monster this close, and just as the beast lunged toward the little girl, he forced himself to move. Gathering every ounce of courage he had, he grabbed her and pulled her away from danger while the wolf chased directly behind them. But the creature was simply too fast. Fear gripped him tightly as he realized they could die at any second. Then, without warning, a powerful figure slammed into the wolf from behind hard enough to crack the street beneath them. The silver moon wolf spun around furiously, snarling at whoever dared interrupt its hunt. Standing there was the famous Captain Gale Wolf. Apologizing casually for arriving late, he ordered Yayin to take the girl somewhere safe while he handled the monster himself. As Yayin backed away while protecting the child, Gale Wolf stepped forward confidently, looking completely unfazed. The instant the battle began, Yayin covered the little girl's eyes to shield her from the violence unfolding ahead. Meanwhile, Gale Wolf quickly realized this wasn't an ordinary beast. The Silver Moon Wolf possessed terrifying physical power and speed far beyond normal monsters. Even after throwing it aside with brute force, he could tell the fight wouldn't be easy. Still, Gale Wolf smirked confidently and reminded the creature that he wasn't fighting alone. Right then, 3 teammates descended from above like thunderbolts, landing beside him ready for battle. Together, they charged forward and drove their blades deep into the beast's body. For a brief moment, they wondered if the monster was finally dead. Then the Silver Moon Wolf released a horrifying scream. A blood-red aura began pouring from its body like steam rising from boiling blood, instantly making Gale Wolf realize what was happening. The beast had entered blood-burst mode. He immediately warned everyone to stay alert because the situation had just become far more dangerous. One of his subordinates rushed over to check on him, but before they could regroup properly, they noticed the wounded wolf trying to escape into the darkness. Gale Wolf narrowed his eyes and instantly gave chase. There was no chance he intended to let that monster leave alive. Then suddenly purple mana flooded the battlefield. A girl descended from above with a bow already drawn, arriving at the perfect moment. Gale Wolf grinned the second he saw the beautiful archer appear. He'd clearly been waiting for her. Without hesitation, she released her arrow. The projectile sliced through the air and pierced directly into the Silver Moon Wolf's neck. The beast collapsed instantly, dead on the spot. Gale Wolf burst into laughter, mocking the creature for thinking it ever stood a chance against their squad. One of the teammates gave the archer an approving nod, praising her precision like it was on another level entirely. Meanwhile, Yayin quietly focused on something else, the monster's status screen. The system revealed the Silver Moon Wolf carried a low-tier blood talent along with a novice-level speed talent. On paper, neither sounded extraordinary, but after witnessing the chaos that creature caused firsthand, he understood how deadly those abilities became in the hands of a real monster. Even the little girl stood frozen in shock, staring wide-eyed at the wolf's motionless body, struggling to process the nightmare she had just survived. But just when the tension seemed to fade, Yayin noticed something subtle. One of the wolf's paws twitched. Something was seriously wrong. At the same time, the others had already relaxed. Some complained about how troublesome speed-type monsters always were, while others casually talked about grabbing drinks afterward like the battle had completely ended. They were celebrating too early. Then Gale Wolf suddenly sensed it too. His instincts screamed that the beast wasn't done yet. Without hesitation, he warned everyone that the monster was still alive. The next second, the Silver Moon Wolf exploded back to its feet with a furious howl. Its blood-red eyes radiated pure killing intent, refusing to accept death so easily. Creatures like this were terrifying precisely because they never stopped fighting, even when their bodies were already falling apart. Gale Wolf's squad instantly prepared for another clash, waiting for orders, but the captain stepped forward alone. He calmly told his teammates to stay back, making it clear that this mutt belonged to him now. Then he glanced toward Yayin and warned him to leave immediately because the area was still dangerous. Only, Yayin barely reacted. Gale Wolf shouted again, louder this time, telling him to get out of there already. But instead of retreating, the Talent Reaper saw an opportunity. This was the perfect moment to test the true limits of his copying ability. Without caring about the warnings, he charged straight toward the injured beast. His fist slammed into the Silver Moon Wolf, and instantly the familiar notification appeared before his eyes. Talent copied. Yayin jumped backward, only to land directly on top of the monster's body. The status window kept flashing repeatedly, over and over again, confirming the successful copies. Pressing both hands against the beast, he unleashed wave after wave of energy into it, causing the corpse itself to glow from within. And strangely enough, as the copying continued, he started getting carried away by the moment. Punch after punch crashed into the wolf's body while adrenaline completely consumed him. Finally, Gale Wolf stepped in and snapped him back to reality, reminding him that the beast had already been dead for a while now. Still gripping the corpse tightly, Yayin knew perfectly well the wolf was finished. What mattered to him wasn't the fight anymore, it was the fact that the talent transfer had succeeded. Soon after, Gale Wolf began organizing the aftermath. He assigned 3 subordinates to handle both the dead man's body and the Silver Moon Wolf's corpse, while the female archer was told to stay with the little girl and comfort her. As everything wrapped up, Gale Wolf looked toward Yayin one more time and told him he hoped to see him again someday, this time as an official member of the squad after reaching the rank of martial warrior. Hearing that lit a fire inside him instantly. Just imagining himself standing among warriors like them filled him with excitement. Later that night, the moment Yayin returned home, he rushed to wash the blood from his face before his sister could notice anything. If Yeyu saw him covered in blood, she'd panic immediately. After cleaning himself up, he quietly walked through the house and found Yeyu sleeping peacefully on her bed, softly snoring like a child with no worries in the world. Even in her sleep, she mumbled the words, "Big bro," making him smile without realizing it. Stepping outside, Yayin finally had time to process everything that happened. That was the first real monster he had ever faced, and the reality was far worse than the stories made it sound. The Silver Moon Wolf wasn't just dangerous, it felt overwhelmingly terrifying, easily hundreds of times more frightening than the monsters he had imagined growing up. As he carefully tucked Yeyu in and made sure she stayed warm, a heavy determination settled inside him. He needed to become a martial warrior as soon as possible because someday, there might not be anyone else standing between his sister and monsters like that. Then another thought suddenly entered his mind. If human talents could be copied and fused, then could monster talents be merged into a human body too? Lying on his bed, he stared at the glowing status window, carefully examining the abilities he had stolen from the Silver Moon Wolf. Deep down, he understood the risk. This fusion might be even more dangerous than the last one, maybe fatal. But his desire to grow stronger completely outweighed his fear. If protecting the people he cared about required walking through hell itself, then so be it. Preparing to fuse the speed talent, Yayin shoved a cloth into his mouth ahead of time, already expecting unbearable pain. The instant the fusion began, agony exploded through his body like a violent storm. Every nerve screamed. Every muscle felt like it was being ripped apart piece by piece. He clenched down hard, enduring the torture as though his entire body was moments away from collapsing. Then suddenly a sharp crack echoed through the room. His leg fractured instantly. A horrifying pain shot upward through his body like burning fire, and panic immediately flooded his mind. Staring at the broken leg, he began wondering if the fusion had failed completely. Doubt started crushing him from the inside. Maybe he really had pushed too far this time. His vision spun uncontrollably as his body started giving out. For a moment, he considered calling out to Yeu. But before he could even speak, darkness swallowed him whole. The following morning, Yayin jolted awake in shock, breathing heavily as memories of the pain came rushing back. The first thing he did was check his leg. No fractures, no bruises, nothing. It looked perfectly normal. He had no clue what happened overnight, but one thing was obvious: his body had changed dramatically. Everything felt lighter, faster, stronger. Quickly, he opened the status screen. The results confirmed it. Alongside his mid-tier cultivation talent, he had successfully fused the novice-tier speed talent as well. The monster fusion had worked. Later, inside a grove near 5th Academy, Yayin moved through the forest with unbelievable speed, leaping from tree to tree almost like a wild animal. He felt completely reborn. As he tested his movements, a single leaf drifted slowly through the air. Without even thinking about it, he reached out and caught it effortlessly. The silver moon wolf's speed was no joke. Soon after, he began practicing the body training technique again. Although his movement speed now rivaled that of a martial warrior, he understood his overall cultivation was still lacking badly. What he really needed now was a way to accelerate his growth. Right then, Jang suddenly appeared after spotting him training in the grove. Walking over casually, he patted Yayin on the shoulder and immediately noticed the difference. The guy felt way more solid now, almost like he'd already broken through as a martial apprentice. Then Jang brought up something unexpected. He asked whether Yayin wanted to become even stronger and casually suggested drinking monster blood. According to him, his own progress had sped up tremendously after trying it himself. At first, Yayin thought the idea sounded ridiculous, but hearing Jang speak so confidently made him reconsider. Monster blood actually carried that much value. That realization made him feel slightly bitter. He had the silver moon wolf right in front of him earlier, yet never thought to collect its blood. Seeing his reaction, Jang grinned mischievously and revealed that there might still be a chance to get some monster blood after all. Naturally, Yayin listened immediately. According to Jang, the higher-ups at Linhai Base had recently opened a new wild zone outside the city. The area was being used as an examination ground for the 5 major academies, and students who passed the exam would receive monster blood as a reward. When Yayin asked about the danger level, Jang casually explained that most of the powerful monsters had already been eliminated. Only weaker descendants remained inside the zone. To Yayin, that sounded worth the risk. Almost instantly, Jang tried convincing him to join his squad for the exam. The moment the offer came up, Yayin froze awkwardly, looking like his face had completely shut down from stress. Jang complained dramatically, whining that he only shared such valuable information because they were friends. Yayin apologized but still turned him down, saying maybe next time. Jang called him cold-hearted for rejecting him like that, but in reality, Yayin simply couldn't afford the risk. His copying ability absolutely had to remain secret. Teaming up with others only increased the chances of exposing everything. For now, working alone felt far safer. Still, his motivation burned hotter than ever. He needed that monster blood, and more importantly, he needed to become a true martial warrior. 1 month later, inside 5th Academy's main office, a professor angrily demanded to know whether someone had leaked the exam information after seeing Yayin register despite never receiving an invitation. Calmly, Yayin explained that he already qualified as a martial apprentice, which technically gave him the right to participate. Annoyed, the professor tossed a liability agreement toward him. Even though he clearly thought students like this were throwing their lives away, if Yayin insisted on taking the exam, then he had to sign the document first. Then the professor mockingly challenged him, basically telling him to leave immediately if he was scared of dying. Some time later, Yayin walked out of the office with a faint smirk. The agreement had already been signed. After he left, the professor scoffed to himself, wondering why students always believed exams like these were meant for amateurs. Deep down, he was convinced Yayin would regret this decision sooner or later. The next morning, Yayu woke up and instinctively called for her brother. But before she could search for him, the smell of freshly prepared food led her toward the table. Breakfast was already waiting for her. There, she found a note from Yayin explaining that he'd be gone for 3 days because of a school event. Reading it quietly, she wondered what kind of event would last that long, while silently hoping her brother would stay safe. Meanwhile, after arriving at the exam location, Yayin found the students of 5th Academy buzzing with excitement all around him. The exam grounds were packed with students from all 5 major academies, the atmosphere buzzing with tension, ambition, and pure competitiveness. Every group carried their own pride, but none looked down on others harder than the students from the first academy. Among them stood Mo Zio, accompanied by his personal bodyguard, casually throwing a disgusted look toward the 5th academy students like they were beneath him. To him, they were nothing more than trash from a garbage academy. His bodyguard even joked that maybe they should wipe out both the monsters and the weak students while they were at it. Nearby, Jiang Bao quietly pointed Mo Zio out to Yayin, explaining that he was one of the most talented young members of the influential Mo family. Hearing that was enough for Yayin to immediately understand the type of person he was dealing with. Another arrogant air drunk on status and ego. Then suddenly, the atmosphere shifted. A young man with his sword still sheathed walked straight into the First Academy's territory without the slightest hesitation, his eyes burning with hostility aimed directly at Mo Zio. The surrounding students immediately started shouting, demanding to know how he even dared enter their camp. But the swordsman ignored every one of them. His focus never left Mo Zio as he openly challenged him, making it clear he had come specifically to cut him down. Mo Zio only smirked in response, clearly amused. From the way he reacted, it wasn't their first conflict, and he seemed completely confident he could beat the guy again. Watching the scene unfold, Yayin grew curious and asked who the swordsman was. Naturally, Jiang Bao jumped at the chance to gossip. According to him, the guy was Li Yunqing, a prodigy from the Second Academy who had previously lost to Mo Zio. Before the situation could escalate further, one of the First Academy professors barked at the students to calm down, warning them not to underestimate the people standing before them. Meanwhile, completely unbothered by the tension, Yayin suddenly started cheering loudly for Li Yunqing instead. The reaction was immediate. Li Yunqing himself looked confused, staring awkwardly at Yayin like he couldn't understand why some random stranger was supporting him so passionately. Just then, the authorities caught wind of the confrontation. An announcement echoed across the area warning that anyone caught fighting outside the wild zone would be instantly disqualified from the exam. Left with no choice, Li Yunqing turned and walked away from the First Academy's camp. But before leaving, he swore he would settle things properly once they entered the wild zone. Mo Zio simply laughed, clearly entertained by the whole thing. A little later, Li Yunqing approached Yayin personally, praising him for having the courage to support him publicly. Curious, he asked for his name. As Yayin introduced himself, he quietly examined Li Yunqing through the system at the same time. The guy possessed a low-tier cultivation talent alongside a mid-tier sword talent, a combination Yayin found surprisingly solid. Then Yayin extended his hand in encouragement, telling Li Yunqing to give it everything he had and surpass Mo Zio during the exam. Caught slightly off guard by the sincerity, Li Yunqing shook his hand and wished him luck in return. What he didn't realize was that the handshake itself had been the real objective all along. At that exact moment, Yayin secretly copied Li Yunqing's sword talent. Soon after, the announcement signaling the beginning of the exam rang out. The students of the First Academy immediately charged into the wild zone without hesitation, while Li Yunqing headed off to regroup with his own team, clearly annoyed by the academy-based entry order. The second he disappeared, Yayin slipped away to a hidden area where nobody could disturb him. There, he immediately began fusing the newly copied sword talent. The moment the process started, violent energy surged through his body once again, bringing with it the familiar agony that felt like his insides were being torn apart. Even after experiencing this pain multiple times already, it still wasn't something he could fully adapt to. Still, compared to before, he was enduring it better now. Once the fusion completed, a burst of electric energy exploded outward from his body. To test the result, Yayin casually slashed towards several large trees nearby. In a single strike, the trunk split apart cleanly. Even he looked stunned by the power. Right after that, his status window updated. Mid-tier cultivation talent, novice-tier speed talent, and now a mid-tier sword talent as well. Not long after, announcements confirmed that students from the first 4 academies had already entered the wild zone. Finally, it was 5th Academy's turn. Together with Jiang Bao and the others, Yayin stepped forward and entered the zone. The moment they crossed inside, everyone scattered in different directions. Yayin chose to move alone, carefully navigating the ruined pathways while staying alert to every sound around him. Suddenly, he sensed movement behind him. Without hesitating for even a second, he spun around and saw a massive snake lunging straight at him. Instantly, he launched himself upward and cut the creature down in one clean motion. The giant snake collapsed lifelessly onto the ground. To claim proof of the kill, Yayin removed one of its eyeballs and secured his first point in the exam. After the brief encounter, he realized something important. These monsters weren't especially strong individually, but the ranking system rewarded students based on total kills. Whoever hunted the most beasts would climb higher, and Yayin had already decided something. He was aiming for first place. The The top scorer would receive 3 portions of mid-tier beast blood along with 100,000 yuan, a reward valuable enough to completely change someone's future. Knowing he still had a long way to go, Yayin immediately resumed hunting. Activating his speed talent, he dashed across rooftops and buildings in search of more prey. That's when he stumbled upon Zhang Bao. The poor guy was trapped and surrounded by a pack of flanged wolves, trembling in terror while desperately calling for help. He couldn't even defend himself properly anymore. The moment one of the wolves lunged at him, Yayin reacted instantly. Snatching up a bow, he released an arrow with deadly precision and killed the beast on the spot. Zhang Bao's eyes nearly popped out when he realized who had saved him. Still panicking, he warned Yayin not to fight the pack, insisting that even he was too weak to survive against flanged wolves. But hearing that only made Yayin smirk. The next second he vanished into motion. Combining his speed and sword talents perfectly, he moved through the wolves like a blur, cutting through them one after another before they could even react. Within moments the entire pack was lying dead around him, and through it all, Yayin remained completely calm. Meanwhile, Zhang Bao stood there frozen, staring at the battlefield in disbelief. What he had just witnessed didn't even feel real anymore. After finishing the monsters, Yayin used his blade to remove the wolves' fangs as trophies before glancing toward Zhang Bao, silently checking if he had any objections. Of course, Zhang Bao couldn't complain. Yayin had done all the work himself, so the rewards naturally belonged to him. Noticing how exhausted Zhang looked, Yayin asked whether he seriously planned to continue the exam in that condition. But Zhang Bao had already made up his mind. He was done. The wild zone was far too dangerous, and surviving without injuries already felt like a miracle. His teammates had been badly hurt, so getting them out safely became his only priority now. Before Yayin left, Zhang Bao suddenly mentioned a rumor spreading among the students, the appearance of a pseudo-beast somewhere inside the wild zone. Yayin had never heard of it before, so Zhang quickly explained. Apparently, a team from the First Academy was currently hunting a gigantic spotted snake over 10 meters long. It wasn't an ordinary monster either. A pseudo-beast was far stronger and much rarer than normal creatures. And more importantly, killing it was worth 500 points. Possibly the highest score in the entire exam. The second Yayin heard that number, his attention locked in completely. He immediately pressured Zhang Bao into revealing the beast's location. Reluctantly, Zhang admitted it was somewhere in the southeast sector. Without another word, Yayin exploded into motion and rushed toward the southeast. If he secured those 500 points, first place would practically be guaranteed. Once he arrived in the area, the situation looked brutal. Students from the First Academy lay scattered across the ground, some heavily injured, others seemingly dead. Scanning the surroundings carefully, Yayin noticed a massive eruption nearby and quickly followed it. Climbing onto a rooftop, he finally saw the source of the destruction. A gigantic pseudo-beast was rampaging through the battlefield. Most of the First Academy students, including Mo Zio himself, were desperately fighting the creature. But it was obvious the monster had completely spiraled out of control. Mo Zio barked orders non-stop, demanding his team bring the beast down and secure the precious 500 points. His bodyguard carefully observed the battle before noticing signs of exhaustion appearing in the creature's movements. He immediately informed Mo Zio that this was the perfect opportunity to finish it. Just as they prepared to strike, the pseudo-beast unleashed a deafening roar powerful enough to shake the ground itself. At that moment, Mo Zio pushed off the earth and launched himself forward personally. A twisted grin spread across his face as he prepared to claim victory for himself. In the next instant, he drove his sword directly into the pseudo-beast's head, blood exploding outward everywhere. But before he could celebrate, the monster retaliated instantly. Its tail slammed into him with terrifying force and hurled him through the air. Mo Zio crashed violently near a building, smashing deep into the wall and leaving behind a massive crater. A few moments later, he slowly lifted his head, excitement written all over his face. In his mind, the beast was already dead, meaning the 500 points belonged to him now. And at first, it truly looked over. The pseudo-beast collapsed heavily onto the ground. Watching from the rooftop nearby, Yayin couldn't help regretting that he arrived too late. Meanwhile, Mo Zio proudly approached his bodyguard, who bowed respectfully while congratulating him on earning the points. As arrogant as ever, Mo Zio openly declared that first place in the exam was basically guaranteed now. Then everything changed. Without warning, the pseudo-beast's skin suddenly shifted color, and its bloodshot eyes snapped open again. The next second it rose back up roaring in fury. Panic exploded among the students as the creature rampaged even more violently than before, attacking everyone in sight. Mo Zio could hardly believe it. All the effort, all the sacrifices, and the beast still wasn't dead. Before anyone could regroup, the monster suddenly launched itself into the sky and escaped the battlefield entirely, leaving destruction behind. That was the moment Mo Zio finally realized the horrifying truth. This wasn't merely a pseudo-beast. It was a genuine monster. Immediately, the surviving students from the other academies, along with Mo Zio's group, decided to pursue it. A real monster was worth a massive 1,000 points, and nobody wanted to miss an opportunity like that, especially after weakening it so heavily already. Mozio understood the situation perfectly. If someone else landed the final blow first, then all their effort would become meaningless. Meanwhile, high above the chaos, Yayin stood calmly atop a rooftop as powerful energy surged around him. A confident smile slowly appeared on his face. With the copied talents he possessed now, he knew one thing for sure. He was faster than Mozio and the others. And honestly, even he hadn't expected a 1,000-point monster to appear during the exam. Without hesitation, he decided to go all in. His aura erupted violently as he pushed both his speed and power beyond their limits. Determination burned in his eyes. Then, in a single explosive movement, Yayin launched himself into the sky after the monster. In only a matter of seconds, Yayin tears across an enormous distance, moving at full speed as he tracks the escaping monster through the ruined city. Not long after, the heavily wounded creature drags its massive body toward a collapsed building, buried beneath rubble, thick purple mucus dripping behind it as it desperately searches for a place to hide. And right at that moment, Yayin arrives. He lands lightly on the ground and instantly notices something important. None of the First Academy students have made it here yet. His eyes quickly lock onto the fresh trail of slime left behind by the monster. Kneeling down, he touches the mucus carefully, judging how recently the beast passed through. Then he follows the trail straight toward the shattered building. Stopping just outside the entrance, he quietly senses the presence hidden within. A greedy grin slowly spreads across his face. The thought of taking all 1,000 points for himself is honestly too tempting to ignore. As Yayin steps deeper into the ruins, a foul stench immediately assaults him. The smell of the monster is overwhelming, thick enough to make the entire place feel rotten. Even so, he walks forward without hesitation, his energy gradually flooding the space around him. Then suddenly his eyes widen. A cold bead of sweat slides down his forehead. Right in front of him sits the giant monster, its enormous mouth open as it drinks a strange liquid dripping from the ceiling above. The source appears to be some glowing stone embedded in the roof, and the liquid flowing from it clearly isn't ordinary water. But right now, Yayin's focus isn't on the treasure. His attention is locked on those 1,000 points. Without wasting another second, he draws his sword with a smirk, already planning to deal with the mysterious liquid afterward. Determination burns in his eyes as he charges the monster head-on. The beast reacts instantly. With shocking speed, it launches itself high into the air, catching Yayin completely off guard. As he tries to evade, the monster slams one massive hand into the ground, unleashing a violent shockwave that sends him flying backward. Still, he refuses to slow down. Immediately switching tactics, he grabs his bow and fires 3 arrows in rapid succession. 2 strike directly into the monster's eyes, causing blood to explode outward as the creature lets out a deafening scream of agony. Seeing the opening, Yayin grips his sword tightly and rushes in again. This time his strike lands with terrifying force. The impact is so intense his own hands tremble violently from the recoil. Then the slaughter begins. Again and again, he carves through the monster's flesh, alternating strikes as blood sprays everywhere while the beast writhes in unbearable pain. Before the giant creature finally crashes lifelessly onto the ground, Yayin has already leaped clear of the corpse. The battle ends. Letting out a relieved breath, Yayin flashes a dark grin, fully aware that he never would have won if Mozio and the others hadn't weakened the monster beforehand. Only then does his attention return to the strange liquid dripping from the ceiling. He has no clue what it actually is, but one thing feels obvious to him: if a monster was protecting it, then it has to be valuable. Without overthinking things, he fills a flask with the liquid, deciding to investigate it later. Afterward, he uses his sword to remove one of the monster's eyeballs as proof of the kill. And since monster heart blood is considered incredibly precious, he carefully collects that into another flask as well. Once the glowing liquid fills about half the container, he decides that's enough. Before leaving, he looks up at the strange stone hanging from the ceiling one last time. A thought crosses his mind immediately. There's no way he's leaving something this valuable behind for Mozio to find. Without hesitation, he slices the glowing stone loose from the ceiling and stuffs it into his bag. Now completely satisfied, Yayin prepares to leave. With the monster kill, the treasure, and all the collected materials, first place already feels guaranteed. Sometime later, the students from the First Academy finally arrive at the scene. The moment they inspect the corpse, panic starts spreading among them. One of the eyeballs is missing, and even worse, the monster's heart blood has been completely drained. Mozio's bodyguard stares at the empty remains in disbelief before asking what they're even supposed to do now. At this point, all that's left is a worthless corpse. Mozio completely loses control. His fists shake violently, his teeth grind together, and his face turns red with rage as he demands to know who dared steal the 1,000-point trophy that belonged to him. Right then and there, he swears he'll hunt down whoever did this and make them pay. Meanwhile, Yayin quietly watches the entire scene from above inside the same ruined structure. Rain pours steadily over him as he stays hidden among the shadows. Soon, he overhears one of the students suggest that the thief probably escaped deeper into the area. Hearing that, Mozayo immediately orders everyone to search every person they encounter. No matter what, he refuses to let the culprit escape. Listening carefully, Yayin realizes he needs to disappear for a while, because sooner or later, everyone will figure it out. Once the exam ends in 3 days and the monster parts get submitted for scoring, the truth will become impossible to hide. The 1,000-point kill will expose him completely. Until then, staying low is the smartest move. As he leaps between towering half-destroyed buildings, lost in thought, he eventually spots a safer location to hide temporarily and lands there. Once settled, he opens his bag and stares at the monster blood he collected earlier. A dangerous thought crosses his mind. How much stronger could he become if he drank it? Without hesitating, he downs the blood immediately. The taste is revolting, absolutely disgusting, but to Yayin, none of that matters. If gaining power means enduring things like this, then he'll do it without complaint, especially if it helps him protect his sister. Far away, Yeyu quietly wonders how her brother is doing. Meanwhile, back with Yayin, a violent surge of energy erupts around him. His cultivation speed suddenly skyrockets, becoming nearly 4 times faster than before. At that moment, everything clicks for him. This is why people like Chen Dong were advancing so insanely fast. And with only 2.5 days remaining before the exam ends, Yayin knows exactly what he needs to do. Cultivate non-stop. 3 days later, the academy examiners begin tallying everyone's scores. Li Yunqing confidently steps forward first, clearly proud of himself as he asks the examiner to announce his results. His total reaches 195 points, a score strong enough to impress many students nearby. Several nod approvingly at the achievement. Then Mozayo arrives. Wearing a smug expression, he openly mocks the others for celebrating what he considers pathetic scores. With complete confidence, he hands his bag over to the examiner. The entire area erupts when the total is announced. 427 points. The crowd immediately breaks into chaos. Li Yunqing, visibly irritated, accuses Mozayo of stealing points somehow, but despite the accusations, most students are still amazed by the score and begin congratulating him for taking first place. But strangely enough, Mozayo doesn't look fully satisfied. His expression darkens as he admits that the real top score should have been 1,000 points. Since nobody else has shown up with a higher number, the examiner eventually concludes that whoever killed the monster most likely died before making it back. Which means by default, Mozayo should receive first place. Just as the decision seems finalized, footsteps suddenly echo across the area. Everyone immediately turns toward the sound. From the distance, a lone figure slowly approaches through the crowd, instantly drawing everyone's attention. Curiosity spreads through the arena as students whisper among themselves, trying to figure out who it is. Then the figure steps forward. It's Yayin. Walking calmly up to the examiner, he hands over his bag containing the monster eyeballs. The examiner's eyes widen in shock. Then he loudly announces Yayin's final score, 1,163 points. The entire arena freezes. Just like that, Yayin is officially declared the top scorer of the practical exam. His rewards include 3 bottles of monster blood along with 100,000 won in cash. His friends immediately erupt in excitement, cheering loudly for him, while Li Yunqing stands there completely stunned, unable to understand how this quiet 5th Academy student pulled off something so insane. Meanwhile, Mozayo grits his teeth so hard it almost looks painful. Not only was he overshadowed publicly, but the person who humiliated him came from the academy he despised most. Quiet fury burns in his eyes as he signals his bodyguard to investigate everything about Yayin immediately. On the other hand, Zhang Bao looks prouder than ever, shamelessly bragging to the first academy students that his friend just pulled off a legendary feat. But unlike the others, the 5th Academy professor isn't celebrating much at all. Instead, he looks worried. Because now Yayin has directly offended the powerful Mo family, and victories like this can easily become life-threatening. Later, the top 3 students, Yayin, Mozayo, and Li Yunqing, stand together for photographs after the ceremony officially concludes and the rewards are distributed. While posing on the podium, Mozayo throws a sarcastic compliment toward Yayin, praising him for having the courage to steal from him. Before things escalate further, Li Yunqing immediately steps in to defend Yayin, pointing out that he earned his points fairly through his own strength, just like everyone else. Still clinging desperately to his pride, Mozayo insists he's still the strongest among them. Hearing that, Yayin calmly challenges him on the spot, telling him they can settle it any time through a real fight. Because by now, Yayin understands something important. Once powerful people set their sights on you, running away stops being an option. The only real answer is becoming strong enough that nobody dares threaten you ever again. 3 days later, Yayin finally returns home. The second he walks through the door, Yayu rushes over and hugs him tightly while anxiously checking whether he's injured anywhere. Relief floods her face after confirming he's safe. Then Yayin surprises her by handing over a huge amount of money, explaining that it's for her education and living expenses. Their playful moment gets interrupted when he suddenly pulls out a mysterious book called the Illustrated Book of Treasures. Curious immediately, Yayu sits beside him as the two begin flipping through the pages together. And then, Yayin suddenly stops. His eyes lock onto an illustration that looks exactly like the glowing stone he discovered hanging from the ceiling during the monster hunt. According to the book, the object is called the Terekar Elixir, an extremely rare treasure capable of improving a person's natural cultivation talent. The catch is, it only works on people with low-tier or mid-tier abilities. Interestingly, the treasure book mentions something even rarer. In places where Terekar elixirs are found, there are sometimes legendary Terramortal stones nearby, treasures capable of enhancing even high-level talents. The moment Yayin reads that line, everything clicks together in his head. That monster hadn't just stumbled into strength by accident. It had most likely been feeding on the Terekar elixir the entire time, slowly evolving because of it. And without even realizing it, Yayin had stolen an absurdly valuable treasure. Before he can think any further, Yayu suddenly hands him the flask containing the remaining Terekar elixir. But Yayin simply smirks and pushes it back toward her. He tells her it's her turn now, her chance to become stronger. Yayu is completely dumbfounded. The two siblings sit together in the lounge, but none of this feels real to her. She immediately refuses, arguing that she hasn't even fully awakened her talent yet, so drinking something this precious could end up being a complete waste. When they check her status window, it confirms her cultivation talent is still low tier, while her frost ability remains at novice rank and unawakened. Still, because her cultivation talent is weak, Yayin believes the elixir should improve it somehow. The only question is by how much. Yayu, however, suggests something entirely different. Rather than consuming it, she thinks they should sell it instead. A treasure this rare would probably be worth a fortune. Ignoring what he calls her terrible idea, Yayin flips through the treasure book again and suddenly realizes something horrifying. The location where he found the elixir might have also contained one of those Terramortal stones, and he destroyed the entire place. Instant regret hits him immediately. Worse yet, if people ever discover where he found the treasure, nobody will believe he doesn't possess the stone too. Powerful people could easily start hunting him over something he never even had. Yayu stares at him in disbelief, calling the whole situation a massive waste. Not wanting the elixir to go unused, Yayin suddenly grabs the flask, catches her off guard, and forces her to drink it before she can protest further. Yayu coughs and complains instantly, but within moments, a warm sensation spreads through her entire body. Yet when they check her status again, her cultivation talent still shows low tier. Seeing no immediate change, Yayin starts wondering whether the book's information was wrong after all. Feeling drowsy, Yayu eventually curls up on the sofa and falls asleep. Meanwhile, Yayin stays nearby, deciding to wait a little longer just in case the effects take time to activate. About an hour later, while Yayu sleeps peacefully in the lounge, powerful waves of aura suddenly begin radiating from her body. Yayin instantly checks her status window again, and this time even he is stunned. Her cultivation talent has jumped all the way to mid-tier, an increase of 2 entire ranks. Combined with her rare frost talent, the potential she now possesses is honestly terrifying. In Yayin's eyes, Yayu could absolutely become a top-tier martial warrior someday. That realization only sharpens his own determination further. Thinking about Mozayo, Yayin silently dares him to come try something, because no matter what happens, he refuses to lose. Later that night, back inside his room, Yayin drinks more monster blood despite the taste being unbelievably awful, honestly worse than anything he's ever swallowed in his life. To survive the flavor, he snacks on peanuts while wondering just how much faster his cultivation speed will become this time. Then the results hit him. His cultivation speed rises to nearly 8 times the normal rate. Even Yayin looks shocked by how ridiculously effective mid-rank monster blood really is. If he had enough of it, he genuinely believes he could break into the martial warrior realm within a single month. Unfortunately, only 2 bottles remain, which means he needs another plan soon. 10 days later, deep within the forests surrounding 5th Academy, Yayin sits calmly meditating while energy circulates steadily through his body. Then suddenly, Zhang Bao comes running toward him in a panic. Completely out of breath, Zhang blurts out that Mozayo has entered seclusion and is currently attempting to break through into the martial warrior realm. Surprisingly, Yayin barely reacts. If anything, he looks disappointed. Mozayo still hasn't come looking for him personally. After examining Mozayo's talent before, Yayin already estimated that someone with mid-tier cultivation talent would probably need about a month to break through fully. Zhang Bao desperately tries to make him understand how serious this situation is. Mozayo comes from one of the most powerful and wealthy families around. 3 bottles of monster blood alone won't be enough to close that gap. Then, being his usual dramatic self, Jang solemnly promises that if Yeyin dies, he'll personally collect the body and even take care of Yeyu afterward. Yeyin completely ignores the nonsense. Instead, his thoughts stay focused on what resources he still possesses, the remaining low-rank monster blood and the blood from the monster's heart. Using those, he estimates he can probably reach the advanced martial apprentice stage, just one step below becoming a true martial warrior. It won't guarantee victory, but with his sword and speed talents combined, he believes he can still fight evenly against someone in the martial warrior realm. Meanwhile, far away at the Mo estate, the enormous steel gates of a grand castle slowly open. From within, a powerful figure emerges. Mozaio has completed his breakthrough. His bodyguard immediately bows respectfully, congratulating him on officially advancing into the martial warrior realm. The difference is obvious instantly. A powerful aura now surrounds Mozaio completely, making him feel far more dangerous than before. Back inside the mansion hall, servants attend to him while he sits calmly, radiating confidence. Soon after, Mo En arrives, an elite martial warrior of Linhai Base, head of the prestigious Mo family and Mozaio's father. The man is clearly overjoyed seeing his son succeed. He praises Mozaio for becoming a true martial warrior and restoring even more glory to the family name. Now carrying himself with even greater confidence, Mozaio assures his father that he will never disgrace the Mo clan. When Mo En reveals that even the family ancestor plans to reward him personally, Mozaio immediately kneels, expressing gratitude toward both his father and the clan elders for supporting his growth all these years. His father quickly tells him to rise and enjoy the feast specially prepared in celebration of his breakthrough. But the second Mo En leaves the room, Mozaio's expression changes completely. His eyes darken with hostility as he asks his bodyguard whether the investigation he ordered before entering seclusion has been completed. Without hesitation, the bodyguard reveals everything. Yeyin has no parents, no influential relatives, and absolutely no political backing. In other words, nobody powerful would protect him. Hearing that only makes Mozaio smile coldly. To him, the game is over now. Rather than confronting Yeyin openly, though, he decides it would be more entertaining to eliminate him quietly. Believing Yeyin to be insignificant, Mozaio orders his bodyguard to arrange an assassination. The bodyguard hesitates, warning that murder inside their territory could create unnecessary trouble. But Mozaio insists on handling it discreetly through a shadow assassin. Even then, the bodyguard points out that hiring someone like that would cost at least 1,000,000 yuan and might not even be worth the effort. Mozaio calmly explains his reasoning. Inside Linhai Base, only a handful of elite families truly hold power. Everyone else lives beneath them. And whenever a talented commoner starts rising too fast, those powerful clans eliminate them before they become threats. That's how they maintain control. Meanwhile, back in the forest surrounding 5th Academy, Yeyin continues training for hours beneath a powerful aura. Then rain begins falling. Sensing the weather worsening, he finally decides to head home. As he walks through the heavy downpour, something suddenly feels wrong. Immediately, he checks the status window. A figure nearby possesses a shadow talent. The name displayed is Lai Kun. Before Yeyin can fully process the situation, Lai Kun suddenly drops from a rooftop above and attacks with a sword. Yeyin narrowly avoids the strike and demands to know who he is. Lai Kun only grins darkly, making one thing very clear: he's here to kill him. The assassin looks terrifying, bloodshot eyes glowing beneath the rain while a red dagger rests between his teeth. Seeing him sends warning bells ringing through Yeyin's mind instantly. At first, he assumes Mozaio must have sent him, but something about it doesn't make sense. Mozaio is already powerful enough to challenge him directly now, so why resort to an ambush? Still, there isn't time to think deeply about it. Lai Kun suddenly leaps high into the air, dagger pointed straight downward as he attacks again. Yeyin blocks with his sword before jumping backward, only to realize the assassin has completely vanished. That's when he understands the true nature of the shadow talent: invisibility. The instant Yeyin turns around, Lai Kun reappears directly behind him, blade aimed at the back of his skull. Thanks to his speed talent, Yeyin barely dodges in time. The failed assassination attempt visibly frustrates Lai Kun. He clearly didn't expect someone at Yeyin's level to react this quickly. At that point, Yeyin decides he's done defending. A dangerous grin spreads across his face as he charges forward and swings at the assassin. But once again, Lai Kun disappears into the shadows. Against ordinary martial artists, this kind of talent would be a nightmare. Against Yeyin, though, it means nothing. Standing motionless inside a narrow alley, Yeyin focuses entirely on sensing fluctuations in energy around him. The instant he detects the slightest shift, he swings his sword instantly. Lai Kun is sent flying through the air. Blood pours from the assassin's mouth as he crashes violently onto the ground, completely stunned. He can't comprehend how someone who isn't even a martial warrior could see through a shadow talent. Driven by both confusion and desperation, he demands to know how Yeyin figured him out. But Yeyin calmly walks toward him without answering. Instead, he turns the question around, saying that if Lai Kun wants answers, he should reveal who hired him first. Smirking weakly, Lai Kun reaches for his weapon and taunts that he'll explain everything right before Yayin dies. Then he attacks again. Yayin leaps into the air to avoid the strike, and the moment he lands, he explodes forward with overwhelming speed and drives his sword straight through Lai Kun's body. Standing behind the dying assassin, Yayin asks one final time who sent him. With blood pouring from his mouth, Lai Kun lets out a weak laugh and admits that Yayin is the strongest martial artist he's ever fought. Then with his final breath, he reveals the truth. Mo Xiao ordered the assassination. As rain crashes down from the sky and lightning tears through the darkness above, Yayin crouches beside the corpse and reaches toward the streams of shadow energy leaking from Lai Kun's body. Then he copies the assassin's shadow talent. A surge of power rushes through him instantly, and the status window confirms the successful transfer. Now, alongside his mid-tier cultivation and sword talents, Yayin possesses both novice-tier speed and shadow abilities as well. Rain continues pouring over the alley, while blood slowly spreads across Lai Kun's lifeless face beneath the flashing lightning. Rather than abandoning the corpse where it fell, Yayin quietly gathers loose stones nearby and buries Lai Kun beneath them. While covering the body, a thought lingers heavily in his mind. A person shouldn't live like a leaf helplessly blown around by the wind and rain. As he walks away, a single leaf drifts down through the storm. Yayin catches it gently in his hand and silently makes himself a promise. He won't live like the falling leaf. He'll become the wind. He'll become the storm itself, strong enough that nobody can ever control him again. Leaving the forest behind, Yayin finally heads home while dark clouds continue swallowing the city overhead. After taking a hot shower and drying himself off, he collapses onto the sofa in the lounge with a long, exhausted sigh. This time, he brought back everything that belonged to Lai Kun, including the assassin's weapons. The moment he examines the twin blades properly, he instantly realizes they're primordial weapons, far superior to the sword that shattered during their fight. Digging through the rest of the belongings, he discovers a gold card worth 1 million yuan along with a silver card carrying another 100,000. Altogether, the assassin had around 3.5 million yuan on him. Without hesitation, Yayin stuffs the cards into his wallet, grinning at the irony. The money Mo Xiao spent trying to kill him was now funding him instead. Among the items, he also discovers a skill manual titled Shadow Blade, a bronze rank blade technique. The second he sees it, his eyes light up. This is exactly what he needs. Since blade techniques allow martial artists to fully unleash the potential of their blade talents, the manual instantly becomes another weapon in his growing arsenal. Excited, Yayin rushes into his bedroom, slams the door shut behind him, and sits on the bed ready to begin learning. But just as he opens the first page, reality crashes into him. Yayu still isn't home. Panic hits instantly. If Mo Xiao gathered enough information to send an assassin after him, then his sister could absolutely be a target too. Without wasting another second, Yayin bolts back outside and leaps from the balcony, racing across rooftops with his heart pounding violently. All he can think about is getting to Yayu before something terrible happens. Soon, he arrives at an ordinary middle school in the downtown district and lands directly inside the schoolyard, desperately searching for her. Even though martial warriors aren't allowed to cause trouble at regular schools, Yayin doesn't trust someone like Mo Xiao to care about rules anymore. Then suddenly, something pokes him in the back. A voice calmly warns him not to move. Instinctively, Yayin spins around ready to counterattack, only to freeze completely when he sees Yayu standing there holding an umbrella with a playful grin on her face. Completely unaware of the panic she caused, she casually explains that she stayed late for classroom cleanup duty. Walking home together through the rainy streets, Yayu notices her brother is soaked, barefoot, and missing an umbrella entirely. Concerned, she asks what happened, but Yayin brushes it off with a vague excuse instead of telling her the truth. Meanwhile, parked quietly nearby, a sleek black car with tinted windows sits motionless by the roadside. Inside, Mo Xiao watches them silently. His fists tighten with frustration as he stares directly at Yayin. He can't understand how his target survived completely unharmed. Seeing Yayin casually walking beside his sister only fuels his rage further. On the way home, the siblings stop by a sausage stand. Once their food is ready, they casually stroll through the busy streets enjoying the cool weather while Yayin asks Yayu what she'd like for dinner later. After thinking for a moment, she requests his signature boiled meat slices. But even during the peaceful moment, the black car continues following them. And this time, Yayin notices. Without alarming Yayu, he quietly keeps watch as they return safely to the apartment while the suspicious vehicle remains parked outside. Inside, Yayu happily calls him over to help prepare the table for dinner. Then 3 full days pass. The rain clears, but the surveillance never stops. Yayu returns to her normal school routine completely unaware of the danger around her, while Yayin watches over her from nearby rooftops every single day. The black car remains stationed outside the school constantly, and the thought of his enemies targeting his sister slowly fills him with rage. Finally, when the car eventually leaves, Yayin immediately follows it. Using his abilities, he leaps swiftly from rooftop to rooftop until the vehicle stops near an abandoned construction site. Landing silently atop a construction crane, he watches someone exit the car and enter the building below. The moment he gets a clear look at the man, Yayin recognizes him instantly. Inside the building, blood stains the floor while one of Mo Zio's men brutally beats a helpless man begging for mercy. The poor victim desperately explains that he doesn't have enough money to repay his debt yet, swearing he'll pay everything back eventually. He pleads for another chance. Meanwhile, Mo Zio sits casually nearby against the wall, completely calm. He coldly threatens to double the debt if it isn't repaid immediately, reminding the man that borrowing money from him always comes with consequences. The man falls to his knees, explaining that the crushing interest has destroyed him and that he still has elderly parents and children depending on him. Before Mo Zio can respond, his main bodyguard suddenly enters the room. Immediately, Mo Zio asks about the shadow assassin. The bodyguard reports that Lai Kun has disappeared, though he plans to contact another intermediary for answers. Hearing that gives Yayin complete confirmation. Mo Zio really did order the assassination. At the same time, Mo Zio's patience finally snaps. He brutally kicks the kneeling man until he dies right there on the floor. Without the slightest remorse, he orders one of his men to dispose of the body. Then he immediately asks whether preparations regarding Yayin's sister have been handled yet. The bodyguard lowers his head respectfully and explains that he plans to leave the task to an associate recently released from prison. But hearing that only irritates Mo Zio even more. Walking toward his subordinate, he admits that relying on others was his mistake from the beginning. From now on, he'll handle things personally. Then without warning, he punches the bodyguard so hard the man crashes to the ground instantly. According to Mo Zio, failure deserves punishment. At that exact moment, Yayin moves. Summoning his primordial weapon, he launches forward from the shadows and attacks Mo Zio from behind. Just in time, Mo Zio senses danger and turns around. For the briefest second, genuine fear flashes across his face. A blade slices through the air. Although Mo Zio barely twists aside, blood still erupts from the slash as Yayin's strike lands cleanly. Then silence. Yayin stands there calmly with a dangerous grin spread across his face. Moments later, a body collapses onto the floor. The remaining guards freeze in shock, convinced their young master has been killed instantly. Mo Zio's closest bodyguard narrows his eyes, assuming the attacker used a shadow assassin's invisibility skill and suspecting Lai Kun himself might be responsible. But after several seconds of eerie silence, Yayin slowly steps out from the darkness, both blades spread wide. The moment the guards see him, most panic and flee immediately. Only the main bodyguard remains standing. Staring at Yayin in disbelief, the man demands to know how he obtained the shadow talent. Yayin doesn't answer. He simply keeps walking forward. The bodyguard grows increasingly desperate, yelling that he already investigated Yayin thoroughly and knows he's supposed to be low-tier trash. He demands to know how someone like him could kill the young master so easily and where Lai Kun disappeared to. Still, Yayin says nothing. Instead, he suddenly leaps forward and slices the man's throat cleanly in one precise motion. Calmly wiping blood from his blades with a handkerchief bearing the shadow assassin symbol, he tosses it onto the corpses deliberately. Then before leaving, he glances back coldly and reminds them that he isn't some helpless sheep waiting to be slaughtered. If they chose the wrong target, that's their own fault. An hour later, Mo En arrives at the scene alongside the Mo family forces. Rage burns in his eyes as he searches desperately for answers regarding his son's death. During the investigation, one of the men discovers the handkerchief Yayin intentionally left behind. The shadow assassin symbol immediately changes everything. Now they believe a professional assassin carried out the massacre. Not long after, Elder Mo arrives personally. As the Grand Elder of the prestigious Mo family and one of the few great martial warriors in Linhai Base, his presence alone changes the atmosphere completely. The instant Mo En sees him, he collapses to his knees crying uncontrollably over the death of his son, the Mo family's greatest prodigy. In contrast, Elder Mo remains calm and composed, telling him to stand up and explain the situation properly. But grief completely overwhelms Mo En. Through tears, he mourns the fact that Mo Zio possessed the potential to become a future great martial warrior, someone capable of elevating the entire Mo family to new heights. He explains that Mo Zio had only recently broken through into the martial warrior realm and attended his own celebratory banquet before meeting such a brutal end. Elder Mo quietly agrees. Mo Zio truly did possess extraordinary potential. In fact, he likely would have become the second great martial warrior in the family after Elder Mo himself. Losing him changes the future of the Mo clan entirely. Then Mo En hands over the blood-stained handkerchief, begging the elder not to let his son's death go unanswered. The moment Elder Mo examines it, he instantly recognizes the symbol of a shadow assassin. Naturally, he assumes one of the rival families opposing the Mo clan must have secretly hired an assassin powerful enough to eliminate Mo Xiao discreetly. But as he studies the cloth more carefully, his expression shifts slightly. His eyes narrow. There are traces of Iron Fang on it. Meanwhile, back at school, Jiang Bao excitedly rambles to Ye Yin about the strength of Iron Fang base, explaining that it's significantly more powerful than Linhai base. According to rumors, the Mo family's grand elder suspects certain families inside Linhai base have secretly allied themselves with Iron Fang, possibly plotting to eliminate the younger generation's elites before eventually taking over the base itself. Lowering his voice dramatically, Jiang also reveals another piece of gossip. Mo Xiao died shortly after breaking through into the martial warrior realm. Hearing this, Ye Yin calmly maintains a neutral expression while quietly suppressing the grin threatening to appear on his face. For now, nobody suspects him. And to make things even sweeter, Jiang laughs and tells Ye Yin he got incredibly lucky. Apparently, Mo Xiao had fully intended to come after him personally once he became a martial warrior. Quietly listening to Jiang Bao ramble on, Ye Yin sinks into deep thought. After all, he was the one who planted Lai Kun's handkerchief at the crime scene, the same cloth marked with the word shadow, specifically to throw suspicion somewhere else. What he never expected was Elder Mo somehow connecting that handkerchief to Iron Fang base. Now Ye Yin can't tell whether the old man genuinely uncovered some hidden conspiracy tied to Iron Fang, or if he's simply twisting the evidence for political reasons. Either way, the situation suddenly feels much bigger than he anticipated. The next morning at exactly 4 o'clock, Ye Yin wakes up and prepares to leave for training. Just as he's about to head out, Yeyu stops him with a worried look, asking why he's leaving so early again. Ye Yin calmly explains that he's heading back to the wild zone because he needs to grow stronger as quickly as possible. Yeyu immediately frowns. He only returned a few days ago, and now he's already leaving again. Before he can walk out the door, she suddenly hugs him tightly from behind. Smiling softly, Ye Yin gently reassures her that he'll come back soon. Once he arrives at the wild zone, his expression sharpens immediately. Rumors say high-level monsters roam these lands, but with his current strength, he knows better than to wander too deep inside. For now, he chooses to stay near the outer edges where weaker monsters appear. Safer doesn't mean easy, but it gives him room to grow without instantly dying. A determined grin spreads across his face. This time, no matter what happens, he's breaking into the martial warrior realm. But right as the hunt begins, the earth suddenly starts trembling violently beneath his feet. Panic flashes through him for a second as he wonders if it's an earthquake. Then he turns around and sees the real cause. An enormous armored ox. The creature's status window reveals a weak bloodline talent along with a low-tier defense talent. Ye Yin studies the information calmly while wondering if the monster has even noticed him yet. The answer comes immediately. The ox lowers its head and charges straight toward him. Instead of retreating, Ye Yin casually tosses his bag aside and rushes forward to meet it head-on. Leaping into the air, he summons his primordial dagger and attacks instantly. But the moment his strike lands, the ox activates its defense talent. A protective barrier wraps around its entire body and blocks the attack completely. Then the beast roars. A violent shockwave erupts outward, blasting Ye Yin backward hard enough to slam him into a nearby rock formation. Even after taking the hit, he slowly stands back up wearing a dangerous grin. Rather than being discouraged, he looks excited. That defense talent is definitely becoming his. Holding both primordial daggers tightly, he advances once more while the armored ox stomps the ground aggressively, roaring as it prepares for another collision. Its eyes glow crimson as it charges again. Ye Yin raises his dagger and smirks to himself, silently swearing that the low-tier defense talent already belongs to him. Without hesitation, he leaps onto the creature's enormous body. Once above its head, he recalls something important. Most monsters tend to share similar weak points. Gripping both weapons firmly, he drives the daggers into the protective shield surrounding the ox. He pours all his strength into breaking through, but the barrier refuses to crack. Then he strikes the exact same spot again. This time, a fracture appears in the shield. But his dagger shatters instantly afterward. Even Ye Yin didn't expect a low-tier defense talent to be this absurdly durable. Before he can fully react, the ox swings its massive limb and sends him flying across the battlefield again. He crashes violently into a cluster of rocks, dust exploding everywhere around him. Still, he refuses to stay down. Clutching his remaining dagger, he slowly rises with even greater determination burning in his eyes. Strangely enough, the more pain he feels, the more desperately he wants that talent. Then suddenly, a notification appears before him. Talent copy cooldown, 16 days remaining. Ignoring it for now, Ye Yin grabs one of the broken dagger fragments and quickly analyzes the monster. Judging from its overall strength, the armored ox should rank somewhere between the silver moon wolf and the giant viper he fought before. Because of its massive size, he realizes something important. If he can identify a weak spot and attack with precision, victory is still possible. Activating his shadow talent, Ye Yin suddenly vanishes into motion. He circles the monster repeatedly while striking the defensive barrier over and over again with the dagger tip. The shadow talent works perfectly for stealth attacks, preventing the ox from properly tracking him. But despite all his efforts, the barrier still won't break. Even his blade talent feels almost useless against such ridiculous defense. Frustration starts building as he desperately searches for some kind of opening. Then he notices something strange. The protective field around the monster's rear area looks noticeably thinner. Scratching his cheek awkwardly, Yayin quietly mutters that maybe, just maybe, that's the weak point. Without wasting another second, he activates his shadow talent again and rushes forward. The dagger pierces directly into the spot. Instantly, the armored ox releases a thunderous scream. Moments later, its gigantic body collapses lifelessly onto the ground while thick mucus spreads beneath it. Yayin squints proudly at the corpse, clearly satisfied that his ridiculous guess somehow turned out to be correct. As expected, once the creature dies, the remaining blade pierces through its body effortlessly. Watching that happen makes Yayin realize something strangely profound. No matter how powerful someone becomes, death eventually reduces everything to nothing. Soon after, he begins collecting the monster's blood into glass flasks while wiping sweat from his forehead. Looking over the corpse, he notices the ox's hide alone will probably sell for a fortune. Naturally, he decides to take the eyes and even the testicles too. Still, the most valuable parts are clearly the horns. With one clean swing of his dagger, he slices them off completely. After loading all the loot onto his back, Yayin heads deeper into the wilderness searching for somewhere quiet to cultivate. Eventually, he discovers a secluded cave and settles there peacefully. Taking a deep breath, he places the fresh monster blood beside the peanuts Yeyu packed for him, the only thing helping him survive the horrible taste. Staring at the blood-filled flasks, Yayin quietly decides these will become the key to reaching the martial warrior realm. Picking up one bottle, he drinks the blood in one go before immediately shoving peanuts into his mouth afterward. At once, powerful energy erupts around him as cultivation begins. 20 days later, deep inside the cave, Yayin slowly exhales. Then suddenly his eyes ignite with blazing blue light. A horrifying scream bursts from his throat as lightning explodes throughout the cave itself. Outside, the ground trembles from the violent aftershocks of his breakthrough. Not far away, two girls stand near the cave entrance. One wears a red cloak and finds the whole situation amusing, commenting on how crazy someone must be to attempt breaking through into the martial warrior realm in such an isolated wasteland. Beside her, another girl dressed in black remains much calmer. The symbol of the martial pavilion rests on her cloak, and a faint smile appears on her face as she quietly senses the energy coming from inside. Clearly, she's intrigued. Back inside the cave, Yayin immediately recognizes the overwhelming surge flooding his body. He's finally reached the martial warrior realm. Then another thought hits him instantly, the armored ox. Remembering that the talent copying cooldown had 16 days remaining earlier and realizing 20 days have already passed, Yayin immediately rushes back to the place where he killed the monster. He still wants that defense talent. But when he arrives, disappointment crashes into him. Only the skeleton remains. The talent can no longer be copied. Frustrated, he regrets carving the creature into pieces earlier instead of preserving the corpse. Nearby, the red-cloaked girl wonders aloud whether Yayin might have been the one who actually killed the armored ox. The black-cloaked girl shakes her head calmly. According to her, the monster died several days ago, while Yayin only just broke through to martial warrior. A mere martial apprentice shouldn't have been capable of defeating something like that. Even so, she quietly praises his courage for scavenging around such dangerous territory alone. Meanwhile, after spending 20 full days inside the wild zone, Yayin strips off his clothes and heads for a swim. The moment the girls realize what's happening, both instantly panic from embarrassment and hurriedly leave the area. Later, inside Linhai Base's martial marketplace, Yayin wanders through the bustling district while marveling at just how massive the place truly is. As he walks deeper into the market, one building immediately catches his attention, the Martial Pavilion, the exact same organization connected to those mysterious girls from earlier. At that same moment, the red-cloaked girl nudges her friend in black and points toward Yayin, recognizing him immediately. Sensing something strangely familiar himself, Yayin turns toward them. The second he locks eyes with the black-cloaked girl, he freezes. For a brief moment, she reminds him so much of Yeyu that he accidentally blurts out her name. The instant the words leave his mouth, embarrassment hits him immediately. But then he checks her status window, and suddenly his expression changes completely. This girl is a monster among geniuses. Her name is Yui Ling and her talents are absolutely insane: high-tier cultivation talent, mid-tier sword talent, and low-tier speed talent. Beside her, the red-cloaked Xiao Yu instantly gets furious. She snaps at Yayin for comparing her lady to his sister and openly mocks him for looking like some random scavenger. Hearing that leaves Yayin genuinely confused. He literally took a bath already, so why does everyone still think he smells bad? Meanwhile, Yui Ling calmly warns Xiao Yu not to speak recklessly. Leaning closer, she whispers something quietly into her ear. The effect is immediate. Xiao Yu's entire attitude changes on the spot. She suddenly bows politely and apologizes for her earlier behavior, explaining that Lady Yui Ling corrected her. She also mentions that Yui Ling had urgent matters to attend to and needed to leave first. Then Xiao Yu grabs Ye Yin by the arm enthusiastically and assumes he's here to sell monster materials. As compensation for their rude behavior earlier, she insists the Martial Pavilion will pay double the normal price for whatever he brought. Soon after, several attendants carry Ye Yin's bags into a private room. The moment he steps inside, even he is impressed. Rare treasures and high-grade materials fill the room everywhere, making it obvious that this isn't just another store. This is the Martial Marketplace's largest and most powerful shop. One of the attendants politely serves Ye Yin tea before informing him that the armored ox's horns and hide alone are worth 20,000 yuan. And just as promised, the Martial Pavilion intends to double the amount, bringing the final payment to 40,000. Even Ye Yin looks genuinely surprised. He never expected a single hunt to earn him that much money. A little later, Xiao Yu returns carrying 4 white currency cards, each loaded with 10,000 yuan. The second they land in his hands, Ye Yin can't stop grinning. Just imagining Yeyu's reaction already makes the whole trip worth it. But right as he's preparing to leave, Xiao Yu suddenly stops him. According to her, manager Yui Ling instructed the staff to offer him another apology. As compensation, he'll receive a 50% discount on anything he buys inside the Martial Pavilion. Hearing that, Ye Yin immediately changes plans. If they're being generous, then he has zero intention of holding back. He starts browsing through the pavilion's massive reference catalog, but after seeing the prices, his expression quickly darkens. Everything is absurdly expensive. Inwardly, he curses the powerful cultivation families controlling the market for making resources nearly impossible for ordinary people to afford. Even so, he eventually settles on several items: a profound training manual, a monster encyclopedia, 3 bottles of mid-tier monster blood, and 3 recovery elixirs. Altogether, the total reaches 78,500 yuan. Thankfully, after the discount and a little convenient rounding, he only has to pay 70,000. Without hesitation, Ye Yin hands over Lai Kun's gold card. Deep down, he can't help appreciating the irony again. The assassin's money is still carrying him hard. At the same time, though, he realizes something important. This level of treatment obviously isn't just because someone accidentally insulted him earlier. The Martial Pavilion clearly sees something valuable in him. He just doesn't know what yet. When nobody explains further, he heads for the exit, only for Xiao Yu to stop him once again. A small grin forms on Ye Yin's face immediately. He already knew the situation wasn't finished. Xiao Yu then reveals that Yui Ling personally wishes to meet him, assuming he's willing. Curious, Ye Yin follows her upstairs to a hall on the 2nd floor. The moment the doors open, he sees Yui Ling sitting calmly beside a table while sipping tea. And once again, the resemblance to Yeyu hits him hard. Still, he forces himself to stay composed as they greet each other properly. Yui Ling politely welcomes him and introduces herself as someone from Mohai Base. The second they shake hands, Ye Yin silently copies her high-tier cultivation talent. A faint grin instantly appears on his face. After introducing himself in return, he takes a seat while Yui Ling pours tea for him personally. She calmly explains that anyone invited to the 2nd floor of the Martial Pavilion is considered a valued guest. That immediately confuses Ye Yin. He openly admits that he's just a commoner with no powerful family or political backing, so he doesn't understand why someone like him would be considered valuable. Yui Ling agrees completely. But according to her, that's exactly what makes him valuable: his independence, his lack of affiliations. Hearing that, Ye Yin quietly studies her. Unlike Yeyu's playful and chaotic personality, Yui Ling feels calm, intelligent, and incredibly composed. Every word she says carries weight far beyond her age. Without wasting time, Yui Ling slides a symbolic token across the table and finally reveals the real reason she invited him here. She wants him to join the Martial Pavilion. The way she speaks reminds Ye Yin so much of Yeyu that saying no almost feels impossible. Even so, he asks the obvious question. Mohai Base is filled with monsters among geniuses, so why would they care about recruiting someone like him, a mere novice martial warrior? Yui Ling slowly rises from her seat and explains something simple but powerful. Great bases don't stay powerful because they stop finding talent. They remain strong because they're always searching for more. The answer genuinely impresses him. Despite her delicate appearance, this girl clearly possesses vision far beyond ordinary people. Seeing Ye Yin lost in thought, Xiao Yu quickly jumps in and tells him not to overcomplicate things. According to her, countless elite disciples from major families dream about joining Yui Ling personally, yet most fail to meet her standards. Ye Yin fully understands how massive this opportunity is. But at the same time, joining any organization means surrendering freedom. Worse, if anyone ever discovers the truth behind his talent-copying ability, death would be the least painful outcome. For that reason alone, he hesitates. Yui Ling immediately notices his reluctance and calmly asks why. Struggling to reject someone who resembles his sister so much, Yayin carefully explains himself by bringing up the recent Iron Fang incident. The political chaos surrounding it ironically gave him a strange kind of peace. Because of that, he doesn't want to become trapped in the same world as those powerful families. He doesn't want to live under people like them either. For the first time, Yui Ling looks slightly offended by the comparison. Still, she remains composed and tells him he doesn't need to answer immediately. She has plenty of patience, and he can observe the martial pavilion for himself first before deciding anything. As Yayin leaves the martial pavilion, his thoughts spiral endlessly. What does it actually mean to be a martial warrior? What is talent really worth? The people meant to protect humanity are abusing their strength instead, making life even harder for ordinary citizens already terrified of monsters. And more than anything else, Yayin hates how powerless he still feels. Right then and there, he silently swears to become stronger, far stronger than anyone standing above him now. Then suddenly, a status notification appears before his eyes. High-tier cultivation talent successfully copied. The moment he sees it, he doesn't hesitate even slightly. He immediately begins the fusion. After spending so many days away, Yayin finally returns home once again. The second Yayu sees him, she rushes straight into his arms and hugs him tightly. Laughing, she teases him for looking way tougher after disappearing into the wild zone for 20 days. Yayin proudly announces something even bigger. He's officially become a martial warrior. Yayu instantly erupts with excitement, practically jumping around in happiness. Watching her react like that naturally makes him smile too. Quietly, he thinks about her future. Once her talent fully awakens, she'll become a martial warrior as well. And from now on, he'll keep improving her abilities whenever possible. After the excitement dies down, Yayu suddenly insists on giving him a haircut. After wandering around the wilderness for nearly a month, he genuinely looks like some exhausted beggar. Now that he's a martial warrior, she argues that he needs to start taking care of his appearance properly. Sitting down calmly, Yayin lets her work without resistance. She's been cutting his hair for years already. As the scissors move, memories suddenly come flooding back. Ever since their parents died, Yayu has always been the one cutting his hair. Back when they were younger, her hands used to shake terribly whenever she tried helping him after fights. He remembers one particular day when he came home badly injured. Yayu begged him to go to a hospital, but they couldn't afford treatment. So instead, he convinced her to cut his hair short so they could clean the wounds easier. Back then, she dropped the scissors while crying, desperately wishing her brother had the healing powers of the immortal jellyfish from the bedtime stories he used to tell her. According to those stories, the immortal jellyfish possessed endless regenerative abilities capable of healing any wound almost instantly. At the time, Yayin never believed those tales were real. But now things are different. Suddenly remembering something, he rushes to grab the illustrated book of treasures he purchased earlier. Flipping through the pages rapidly, he searches for the immortal jellyfish and quickly finds it. The book confirms everything. The creature is a water-type beast possessing healing abilities, and it supposedly lives within a place called the Lake of Death. Immediately, a dangerous idea forms in Yayin's mind. If he can copy that healing talent, injuries will stop being a serious weakness entirely. And maybe then, Yayu can finally stop worrying about him every single day. Curious, Yayu peeks into the book and freezes in shock after seeing the same creature from their childhood stories. She genuinely can't believe those bedtime tales were actually real. Even so, she drags him back toward the mirror to finish cutting his hair properly. Later that night, Yayin sits alone in his room studying a new body training technique designed specifically for martial warriors. The cultivation method progresses in stages, first tempering the skin, then the muscles, and finally the bones themselves. The moment he begins testing it, he immediately notices the difference. This technique absorbs energy far faster than anything he used before. Excited by the improvement, Yayin drinks another bottle of mid-tier beast blood to push things even further. The instant he does, the absorption speed triples again. Seeing results like that only fuels his motivation. For now, he decides to continue cultivating at home while waiting for the talent copying cooldown to expire. Once it's ready, he'll head directly to the Lake of Death and hunt down the immortal jellyfish. 30 days. That's all that's standing between him and another powerful talent. A dangerous smirk slowly spreads across his face while he imagines successfully copying healing abilities next. Later, back at the Martial Pavilion, Xiao Yu greets Yayin warmly, assuming he returned to meet Yui Ling again. Instead, he explains that he's here to purchase something. Noticing his cleaner appearance and fresh haircut, Xiao Yu secretly admits to herself that he actually looks surprisingly handsome now. Once they arrive at the counter, Yayin requests a map of the Lake of Death. After searching through records for several minutes, Xiao Yu finally finds the map and hands it over. The moment Yayin sees it, a wicked grin instantly appears on his face. Just thinking about all the powerful talents hidden there already excites him. After paying for the map, he quietly sets off toward his destination, leaving Xiao Yu behind staring after him curiously. In her mind, she wonders whether he's heading out to collect more junk again. But the moment he disappears, anxiety suddenly hits her hard. She remembers Yui Ling's warning about the Lake of Death, a terrifying place overflowing with dangerous water beasts where even elite martial warriors struggle to survive. Now all she can do is hope nothing happens to him. Upon arriving at the Lake of Death, even Yayin looks stunned by the sight before him. The entire area feels barren, chaotic, and eerily lifeless. Storm clouds churn overhead while the landscape itself radiates danger from every direction. And somehow that only excites him more. Places like this always hide terrifying talents. Almost immediately, he spots a water monster surfacing nearby. Instead of attacking recklessly, Yayin activates his invisibility and chooses to observe first. Leaping toward a nearby mountain peak for a better view, he suddenly notices something unexpected. A girl and an elderly man are descending directly into the water using an umbrella right near the monster's location. Looking closer, Yayin immediately recognizes them. It's Yui Ling, and the old man accompanying her. Yui Ling and the elderly man soar through the air desperately, barely avoiding the lightning strikes raging around the lake monster. Every bolt crashing nearby makes it obvious just how terrifying this creature truly is. Clutched tightly in Yui Ling's hands is a bronze chest, and judging from the panic on both their faces, they genuinely believed they were about to die down there. The instant the top-tier monster opens its massive jaws to swallow them whole, the two barely escape the water in time. Completely drained, Yui Ling collapses against a nearby rock without noticing the swarm of smaller monsters creeping toward her from behind. The moment Yayin sees her fall behind, his instincts kick in immediately. Without thinking twice, he activates his speed talent and bursts forward like a blur, ready to protect her. Meanwhile, Yui Ling keeps running despite her exhaustion, refusing to let the monsters catch her. One of the creatures closes the distance rapidly, almost close enough to tear into her, while the old man desperately shouts for her to survive no matter what. Then suddenly, Yui Ling stops running. She turns around slowly, closes her eyes, and activates a hidden technique. A glowing flower blooms across her forehead. A saber materializes in her hand. Her hair shifts into a brilliant pink shade as waves of pink energy explode around her body, and then she vanishes. For a brief second, even the monster looks confused. The next moment, Yui Ling reappears high in the air directly before her target, eyes locked with absolute focus. Without hesitation, she swings her saber once. The monster splits cleanly in half. Watching from afar, Yayin immediately halts in his tracks and shakes his head bitterly. He realizes just how stupid he was for even thinking about interfering. This isn't a fight a novice martial warrior like him can participate in. Whatever technique Yui Ling just used completely shattered his understanding of strength. Standing silently atop a cliff, Yayin watches her cut through monster after monster effortlessly, her saber carving through the battlefield like a storm. Any lingering doubts about her power disappear instantly. Yui Ling isn't merely strong. She's an elite martial warrior standing at the absolute peak of her realm. And with that secret technique active, she's practically approaching legendary status. Dozens of monsters lie butchered around her, and Yayin understands something terrifying. Even 10 versions of himself combined wouldn't stand a chance against her. Then suddenly, the lake monster erupts upward again. This time, the elderly man gets caught. Its massive jaws clamp onto his leg as the creature prepares to drag him under. Yet instead of begging for help, the old man shouts at Yui Ling to escape immediately. He warns her that her secret technique is already fading, and if she dies here too, then the sacrifice of their 10 fallen comrades will mean nothing. Especially after everything they endured to recover the treasure. Hearing that revelation shocks Yayin completely. 10 people died beneath that lake. What kind of treasure is valuable enough to justify losses like that? With no better option remaining, Yui Ling leaps away from the battlefield and lands on the same cliff where Yayin is hiding. The flower on her forehead begins fading rapidly, proving the old man's warning was true. Her strength is running out. Completely exhausted, she collapses beside the treasure chest. Naturally curious, Yayin reaches toward it for a closer look, but even in her weakened state, Yui Ling immediately warns him not to touch it. Seeing how fiercely protective she remains despite barely being conscious, Yayin calmly assures her he has no intention of stealing anything. Instead, he decides to move her somewhere safer away from the monsters. Gently lifting her into his arms, he quietly asks whether taking her to a nearby cave is all right. When she gives no response, he takes the silence as permission and carries her away. Inside the cave, Yui Ling sleeps deeply, her injuries and exhaustion finally overwhelming her completely. Wrapped in Yayin's cloak for warmth, she looks strangely peaceful. As he watches her resting there, he can't stop noticing how much she resembles Yeyu. The only real difference is the small beauty mark near her eye. Almost unconsciously, he reaches out and tries wiping it away. But when his fingers touch the mark and it refuses to disappear, a strange nervous feeling settles over him. Several hours pass, yet Yui Ling still hasn't awakened. Squatting nearby, Yayin quietly studies her face while wondering how much longer she'll remain unconscious. Then suddenly she lets out a faint groan. Startled, Ye immediately stands upright. Slowly opening her eyes, Yui Ling looks shocked and asks if he was the one who saved her. Naturally, Ye brushes it off instantly and lies through his teeth, claiming it was just coincidence and that he happened to pass by. After cleaning his cloak carefully, Yui Ling returns it to him and thanks him sincerely. Then she casually praises his courage for entering the lake of death alone. At the same time, she silently decides something to herself. No matter what happens, she intends to recruit this guy into the martial pavilion eventually. Then without warning, Yui Ling suddenly summons a glowing orb into the cave, startling Ye badly. Seeing his reaction makes her grin slightly as she explains that the object is called a light stone, a treasure capable of storing and emitting light. What shocks Ye isn't the item itself, but how effortlessly she made it appear. Yui Ling clearly finds his curiosity amusing. She promises to explain everything after finishing her healing potion first. While waiting, Ye quietly drifts into thought. For a moment, he wonders whether this could be some kind of space-type talent. But then he remembers her status window clearly lacked anything related to spatial abilities. Once the potion finishes healing her injuries, Yui Ling suddenly kicks him lightly on the leg and tells him to stand up if he still wants answers. Then, holding the bronze chest in one hand and a tiny pouch in the other, she casually demonstrates. To Ye absolute shock, the small pouch instantly absorbs the entire chest. At that moment, everything clicks. This isn't a space talent at all, it's a spatial treasure. While casually adjusting her hair, Yui Ling offers to teach him how to use such items properly if he agrees to join the martial pavilion. But before she can even finish speaking, Ye immediately rolls over and pretends to fall asleep the second she mentions recruitment again. Watching him blatantly ignore her leaves Yui Ling furious. Grinding her teeth, she glares at him across the cave while swearing internally that someday she'll absolutely force him into the pavilion one way or another. Meanwhile, Ye lies there with his eyes closed pretending to sleep while secretly thinking something else entirely. Once he eventually copies abilities related to those treasures, none of this will matter anyway. So why stress over it now? The following morning, Ye wakes up and immediately notices Yui Ling is already gone. In her place, however, she left behind several gifts. A mid-tier profound training manual, 10 bottles of high-tier monster blood, and 10 gold cards worth 1 million yuan each. A massive grin instantly spreads across Ye's face. Yui Ling clearly left them behind for him before departing. And honestly, these resources alone are enough to push him all the way into the ranks of elite martial warriors. The moment he realizes that, his priorities shift immediately. The immortal jellyfish can wait. Right now, getting stronger matters more. Without hesitation, he grabs 1 bottle of monster blood and starts drinking. 4 months pass. Inside the cave, animal meat crackles over a fire while empty cans and discarded cloaks litter the surroundings. At the center of it all, waves of powerful energy swirl violently around Yeyin as he meditates. Then suddenly, his eyes snap open. Lightning explodes upward from the cave toward the sky. Smoke fills the air as Yeyin slowly rises from the shadows, staring at the energy dancing across his hands. Clenching his fists tightly, he grins with complete satisfaction. There's no doubt anymore. He's officially entered the elite martial warrior realm. Pulling on his cloak, Yeyin smirks confidently and mutters that the hunting season can finally begin. After all, the rain has been falling long enough. The moment he steps outside the cave, though, his expression changes slightly. 11 graves now stand nearby. Instantly, he understands Yui Ling must have built them herself. Standing before one of the graves, Yeyin quietly reflects on something. With monsters like those lurking inside the lake, the dead probably didn't even leave bones behind. Yet despite that cruel reality, Yui Ling still chose to honor them properly. Then his eyes land on something nearby, an umbrella. The exact umbrella Yui Ling and the old man used while diving into the lake. Curious, Yeyin opens it. Immediately, a waterproof barrier surrounds him completely. The more he studies it, the more amazed he becomes. The bubble perfectly protects him underwater. Excitement flashes across his face instantly. Combining this treasure with his shadow talent means he can move beneath the lake without attracting monsters. Without hesitation, Yeyin dives directly back into the lake of death. As he descends deeper and deeper, something enormous suddenly appears in the distance. At first, he can't identify it clearly, but eventually he recognizes the creature, a tiger claw fish, and according to its status window, it possesses a mid-tier innate talent. The monster is so absurdly huge that even Yeyin nearly panics, terrified it might notice him. Still, he forces himself to stay calm and continues descending carefully. Eventually, he reaches the deepest regions of the lake. And at that point, he starts wondering whether the immortal jellyfish even exists down here anymore. Then suddenly, something feels wrong. He's being followed. The instant he turns around, enormous tentacles crash toward him violently, sending him tumbling through the water. Alarmed, Yeyin quickly checks the attacker's status window. And his eyes widen instantly. It's the immortal jellyfish, the exact creature he's been searching for this entire time. The monster possesses a novice innate talent, along with an apex tier healing talent. Right as one of the tentacles slams toward his protective bubble, Yayin summons his dagger and swings with full force, slicing the tentacle clean off. The jellyfish screeches in pain, but then something horrifying happens. The severed limb regenerates almost instantly thanks to the apex healing ability. As the restored tentacle lashes toward him again, Yayin suddenly does something reckless. Instead of dodging, he reaches out and touches it directly. Talent copied successfully. Before he can celebrate, however, the tentacle smashes him deeper into the lake with terrifying force, completely shattering the umbrella protecting him. Suddenly unable to breathe properly, Yayin sees swarms of jellyfish converging toward him from every direction. Even with the new healing talent, charging into a massive underwater swarm would be suicide, so instead of fighting, he makes the smarter choice: retreat. Bursting from the lake, Yayin races through the forest at full speed, pushing every ounce of power from his speed and strength talents just to escape whatever continues chasing him. Eventually, after creating enough distance, he finally slows down while breathing heavily. Once he's sure the danger is gone, his attention shifts back to the real objective: the copied talent. A familiar status screen appears before him, confirming that the apex tier healing talent was successfully copied. Without hesitation, Yayin chooses fusion immediately. Pain surges through his body as the new power merges into him, but compared to everything he's endured before, this barely even registers anymore. After absorbing so many talents already, his body has practically adapted to the process. What once felt unbearable now feels almost routine. And just like that, another terrifying ability joins his arsenal. The fusion completes smoothly. His status window updates once again: high-tier cultivation talent, mid-tier sword talent, novice shadow talent, and now, apex-tier healing talent. This time there are no violent side effects, no broken bones, no unbearable agony. His body has evolved alongside the abilities themselves. Curious to test the healing power properly, Yayin carefully takes out a drop of venom extracted from the immortal jellyfish. The poison is deadly enough to kill ordinary people instantly, and without hesitation. He lets the venom touch his skin anyway. The venom reacts instantly the moment it touches Yayin's skin. Dark poison spreads rapidly across the wound, but before it can do any real damage, he activates his healing talent. And just like that, the injury disappears completely, as if it never existed in the first place. Even Yayin looks impressed. The healing ability is honestly ridiculous, but while admiring the talent, he also realizes something important. Most of the abilities he's collected so far are support-oriented, healing, defense, survival tools. They're useful for staying alive, sure, but against truly terrifying opponents, surviving alone won't be enough. If he wants to dominate stronger enemies instead of barely enduring them, he needs an offensive talent next, something built purely for attack. Later, back at home, Yayin sits quietly while Yeyu trims his hair once again. At the same time, he's flipping through a beast encyclopedia searching for something worthwhile to hunt. He scans entries about aggressive bears and flame birds, but neither catches his interest. Strong, maybe, but nothing special. Meanwhile, Yeyu finally loses patience and starts scolding him for disappearing without saying a word again. According to her, vanishing for months while making her worry nonstop officially qualifies him as a terrible brother. Yayin can only smile awkwardly and apologize because honestly, she's right. But then suddenly his eyes lock onto a certain page: the mighty ant. Instantly his attention sharpens. According to the encyclopedia, the creature itself is only low tier, but it always appears in massive groups. And when those ants swarm together, even top martial warriors struggle to survive against them. The moment he reads that, his eyes light up. This is exactly what he wanted. The true danger isn't raw strength alone. It's coordination, overwhelming numbers, and relentless teamwork. Immediately, Yayin knows his next target. Not long after, he enters the martial pavilion once again, and is greeted by a familiar polite voice welcoming him inside. Behind the counter, Xiao Yu immediately recognizes him and smiles in surprise at seeing him return. After chatting casually for a bit, she asks what he's looking for this time. Without hesitation, Yayin tells her he needs a complete mighty ant body. At first, Xiao Yu looks confused. She assumes he wants to soak it in wine like certain martial artists do for recovery purposes, and even jokingly asks whether he's feeling weak lately. Yayin quickly shuts that misunderstanding down. Embarrassed, Xiao Yu apologizes and explains they currently don't have any mighty ant specimens available. Still, instead of ending the conversation there, she suddenly mentions something far more interesting. Apparently, Linhai Base is working together with a mid-sized base to establish a commercial trade route. The problem is that the area connecting both territories is filled with dangerous monsters, including nests of mighty ants. The second he hears that, Yayin connects the dots instantly and asks if the mid-sized base happens to be Iron Fang Base, the closest one near Linhai. Xiao Yu nods immediately and confirms that Iron Fang is located roughly 100 kilometers away. Somewhere along that dangerous route lies the mighty ant territory. For Yayin, it sounds like the perfect opportunity. As the conversation continues, Xiao Yu casually reveals more information regarding the situation between Linhai and Iron Fang Base. According to her, some time ago, a member of the Mo family died mysteriously, causing the Mo family to suspect Iron Fang Base was secretly preparing an invasion. Yayin raises an eyebrow quietly while listening, but Xiao Yu explains that the Mo family personally investigated the situation, and somehow the conflict was resolved peacefully. In fact, thanks to the Mo family's involvement, Iron Fang Base and the Lin family eventually agreed to cooperate on building the new trade route. That detail immediately bothers Yayin. If the Mo family was involved, then something shady probably happened behind the scenes. The timing alone feels suspicious. He doesn't voice those thoughts aloud, but the doubt growing in his mind becomes impossible to ignore. Right then, Xiao Yu finally finds what she was searching for and hands Yayin a small token. According to her, it's required to participate in certain special operations. Originally, it was intended for Yui Ling herself, but apparently plans changed. Before he can question it further, Xiao Yu proudly explains that the Martial Pavilion belongs to a large base and has absolutely no intention of lowering itself beneath a mid-sized organization like Iron Fang. Still, despite their pride, the two bases are cooperating temporarily to establish the trade route. Since the surrounding area overflows with dangerous monsters, a large-scale clearing operation is being organized using martial warriors. For Yayin, this couldn't be more perfect. Joining the mission gives him the exact chance he needs to locate mighty ants. Inside Linhai Base, the Lin family rules everything absolutely. Compared to them, even the once powerful Mo family has become little more than obedient followers. Knowing that, Yayin immediately decides it's time to move. Once he arrives at the Lin family's recruitment grounds, he realizes just how massive the operation truly is. Hundreds of warriors have already gathered, all preparing to participate in the mission. Still, Yayin remains cautious and blends quietly into the background. Drawing attention right now would only create problems. Then suddenly the crowd falls silent. A powerful presence enters the area. Lin Mingji, the current head of the Lin family and a peak elite martial warrior. The moment he appears, the atmosphere changes completely. Lin Mingji greets the gathered warriors before officially announcing the beginning of the beast-clearing operation. From the back of the crowd, Yayin watches carefully while staying alert. Then he notices something else. The Mo family is here too. Stepping forward confidently, Lin Mingji addresses everyone with a commanding voice. He explains that Linhai Base remains relatively small, meaning resources are limited and cultivation opportunities scarce. That's precisely why cooperation with a mid-sized base matters so much. If this operation succeeds, the benefits won't belong only to the Lin family. Everyone participating stands to gain enormously. Still, Lin Mingji doesn't hide the danger. Clearing monsters across an untamed trade route won't be easy, and some people absolutely won't return alive. Even so, he promises rewards greater than anything previous operations ever offered. Immediately, excitement spreads throughout the crowd. For many warriors present, this mission could completely change their futures. Soon loud cheers erupt everywhere as warriors shout praises for the Lin family. Watching from a distance, Yayin notices Captain Gale Wolf among the gathered squads and quietly wonders whether the man still remembers him. Before he can dwell on it longer, Lin Mingji speaks again. This time, his words erase nearly all hesitation remaining in the crowd. Every resource obtained during the mission, beast parts, treasures, rare materials, will belong entirely to whoever acquires them. The Lin family won't take a single share. Then comes the real bombshell. Every martial warrior participating will receive 20 bottles of mid-tier monster blood along with 2 million coins. Elite martial warriors will receive 3 bottles of high-tier monster blood and 10 million coins. The crowd explodes with excitement again. At that point, this isn't merely a mission anymore. It's a golden opportunity. Soon long lines begin forming near the assessment station, where officials measure each participant's cultivation level using glowing evaluation stones. One by one, warriors place their hands against the crystal while their power gets revealed publicly. Watching carefully, Yayin remembers Yui Ling's warning. Getting entangled with powerful clans, especially families like the Mo clan, only invites trouble. Staying unnoticed is smarter. Since the stone measures force output directly, he realizes he can simply suppress part of his strength to fake a lower ranking. When his turn arrives, Yayin calmly steps forward and places his hand against the glowing stone while carefully limiting his power output. His goal is simple: late-stage martial warrior, strong enough to participate, weak enough to avoid excessive attention. After glowing briefly, the stone reveals the result: late-stage martial warrior. Immediately, murmurs spread through the crowd. People stare in surprise after seeing someone so young reach that level already. Several warriors instantly assume he must belong to some powerful family. Internally, Yayin sighs. Even while suppressing himself, he still attracted attention. Nearby warriors begin comparing themselves immediately. One complains about still being stuck at mid-stage, while another bitterly jokes that true geniuses always appear young while everyone else struggles endlessly just to survive. Not far away, Captain Gale Wolf quietly watches the scene unfold. His squad still lacks one member, and after seeing Yein's displayed strength, the captain immediately starts considering recruiting him. As the crowd continues buzzing with excitement, Yein calmly walks forward. Surprisingly, despite numerous powerful squads nearby, he heads directly toward Gale Wolf's group without hesitation. Many people expected him to join one of the elite teams instead, but Yein already made his decision. The moment Gale Wolf sees him properly, recognition flashes across his face. He immediately remembers the young martial apprentice who once risked his life to save a little girl from a silver moon wolf. But what truly shocks him is something else entirely. That same boy reached late-stage martial warrior in less than a year. Naturally, Yein downplays everything and claims it was all just luck before politely asking permission to join the squad for the upcoming operation. Gale Wolf doesn't hesitate even slightly. Clearly excited, he welcomes Yein into the team immediately with open arms. Soon, Yein stands beside his new teammates within Gale Wolf's squad fully prepared for the mission ahead. Politely, he asks everyone to look out for him during the operation, and the squad welcomes him warmly, especially happy to gain another late-stage martial warrior on their side. Yein's arrival instantly boosts the squad's morale. Just having another late-stage martial warrior beside them makes the entire group feel like this mission might actually go smoothly for once. Ahead of them, Captain Gale Wolf gathers everyone together and points toward the operation zone. According to the reports, only weak-tier monsters should be roaming the area. Even so, he warns the squad not to get careless. Charging forward recklessly gets people killed fast, and survival comes first no matter what. Right as the team prepares to move out, Yein suddenly senses something approaching at terrifying speed. The entire squad immediately stiffens. Weapons rise, everyone prepares for battle. But Gale Wolf quickly calms them down, guessing it's probably just the first wave of monsters scouting the area. Nothing they can't handle. Without wasting time, he assigns positions. He'll take point at the front. Yein will guard the rear. The others will secure the middle and flanks. Once the formation is set, Yein quietly sharpens his focus and calmly tells the squad to leave whatever's coming to him. Soon, the team reaches a cluster of ruined buildings where two red-furred beasts stand growling viciously nearby. The tension rises instantly as both sides prepare to clash. One of Yein's teammates shouts for the attack to begin, and Yein silently agrees while keeping his eyes locked onto the enemies ahead. Then suddenly the red beasts charge, fast, wild, aggressive, but Yein reacts even faster. The moment the first creature lunges forward, he draws his sword and intercepts the attack head-on, killing it almost instantly. Without pausing for even a second, he bursts toward the second beast. Raising his leg high, he drives a brutal kick straight into its body and sends the creature flying backward. Then he follows immediately. Sword in hand, Yein leaps forward and drives the blade deep into the monster's chest. The weapon pierces clean through as the beast releases one final scream before collapsing lifelessly onto the ground. Moments later, the battlefield falls silent. Standing among the corpses, Gale Wolf proudly mentions that he personally took down 3 monsters himself during the fight. Meanwhile, Yein simply smiles quietly while keeping one important detail hidden. He intentionally held back. If he fought seriously, his true strength would attract far too much attention. One of the teammates laughs and jokingly points out that Yein is already ridiculously impressive for someone his age, teasing Gale Wolf by saying maybe the captain should stop trying so hard to flex in front of the younger generation. Gale Wolf pretends to be offended before bursting into laughter alongside everyone else. But the mood quickly shifts again. One of the squad members suddenly points out something strange. The wolves never attempted to lure them deeper into the valley. Normally, that would have been the perfect ambush point. Instead, they attacked recklessly out in the open. The group immediately falls silent. Something feels wrong. If the wolves ignored their normal hunting tactics, then maybe something forced them to rush the attack. Another teammate carefully scans the surroundings before realizing the most disturbing possibility. Maybe this wasn't wolf territory at all. Maybe stronger beasts drove them out. Hearing that instantly changes the atmosphere. One younger member nervously points out the obvious problem. There are only 5 of them stranded deep inside this ruined city. Still, another warrior quickly steps in to reassure everyone. Their squad consists of 3 mid-stage martial warriors and 2 late-stage martial warriors. That's more than enough firepower to survive most situations. To calm the team further, Gale Wolf reveals a special communication device issued by the Lin family. Every captain received a walkie-talkie for emergencies, meaning reinforcements can theoretically be called anytime. That reassurance helps restore everyone's confidence slightly. As the squad carefully advances deeper into the city ruins, Gale Wolf suddenly raises his hand sharply. Movement. Something is above them. Immediately, Yein checks the creature's status using his talent window. A fire-breathing lizard, low-tier beast. Novice innate talent, low-tier fire talent. Without warning, flames erupt downward toward the group. This time, however, the other squad members step forward confidently since Yayin and Gale Wolf handled the earlier enemies already. Gale Wolf reminds everyone not to underestimate the creature just because it's low tier. Fire attacks remain dangerous regardless of rank. The squad charges into battle together while Yayin watches from the side carefully. At first, he looks slightly concerned, but Gale Wolf reassures him that the team can handle it. Sure enough, a short while later, the group returns victorious carrying the dead beast behind them. Everyone celebrates the smooth teamwork. One member tries downplaying his contribution, but another immediately points out that the distraction arrow made the entire kill possible. The victory belonged to teamwork, not one individual. One of the warriors confidently declares the fight too easy and claims the creature barely even challenged them. Honestly, he feels ready to handle several more monsters if necessary. The second those words leave his mouth, a fireball suddenly crashes toward the team from nowhere. Luckily, Yayin reacts instantly and saves the guy just in time. More creatures are approaching, and since the first enemy was a fire-breathing lizard, Yayin quickly realizes what's coming next. A pack. The battle is far from over. At the same time, Gale Wolf urgently grabs the radio and reports trouble in Zone B while requesting immediate backup. Only silence answers him. As the seconds drag on, realization slowly settles across his face. The Lin family doesn't care whether his squad survives or not. Feeling both betrayed and responsible, Gale Wolf finally makes a decision. He announces that he'll stay behind alone to hold off the incoming monsters while the others escape. But the moment he says it, the rest of the squad refuses immediately. They're brothers. Nobody's abandoning the captain. Even so, Gale Wolf keeps shouting at them to run while they still can, calling them idiots for standing around waiting to die. He understands perfectly well that staying here could wipe them all out. Then suddenly, one member panics completely and bolts away on his own. Another teammate watches him flee and silently clenches his fists, swearing that if they survive this, he'll make that coward pay for abandoning everyone. Soon after, Gale Wolf turns toward Yayin specifically. He recognizes the insane talent and potential hiding behind that calm face. According to the captain, someone as gifted as Yayin shouldn't die here over a hopeless fight. He orders Yayin to escape with the two younger members while there's still time. The others agree immediately and beg him not to throw away his future staying behind for them. Quietly, Yayin pretends to accept their advice, but instead of retreating, he suddenly explodes forward. A massive wave of aura erupts from his body instantly. Everyone freezes. That pressure, that overwhelming energy. It's unmistakably the aura of an elite martial warrior. The entire squad stands stunned in disbelief. Nobody expected Yayin to be hiding strength on that level the entire time. Deep down, Yayin knows he never planned to reveal this much power. But if he keeps pretending to be weak now, Gale Wolf's entire squad could die. And unlike the selfish people from the Mo family, Gale Wolf chose to stay behind for others instead of saving himself. Watching that kind of courage makes something inside Yayin shift. He can't walk away anymore. Stepping forward calmly, he questions himself silently. If he hides his power while good people die protecting others, then how is he any different from the corrupt clans he despises? There isn't time to hesitate. Even if revealing his strength creates problems later, he'll accept the consequences, because he trusts Gale Wolf. The captain isn't the kind of person who would punish someone for stepping up when it mattered most. As Yayin fully unleashes his power, raw energy floods the battlefield violently. Gale Wolf watches in complete disbelief. The speed and pressure pouring from Yayin are undeniably those of an elite martial warrior. Not impressive, terrifying. Without hesitation, Yayin activates Shadow Blade, and instantly monsters begin falling one after another. At that moment, the truth becomes painfully obvious to everyone watching. Yayin isn't merely talented. He's one of the strongest fighters in the entire Linhai base. While the squad is still trying to process the shock, a desperate scream suddenly echoes from behind them. It's the same teammate who ran away earlier. Now he's trapped and begging for help. One of the squad members hesitates briefly, unsure whether they should save him, but Gale Wolf doesn't even turn around. According to the captain, the man already made his choice when he abandoned everyone to save himself. Now he's simply facing the consequences of that decision. Meanwhile, Yayin cuts through the final monsters blocking their path before calmly turning back toward the others. He asks them one simple question. Are they moving forward with him, or staying behind? Without hesitation, Gale Wolf answers for the entire squad. They're the Gale Wolf team. And the Gale Wolf team sticks together. With that, the group regathers behind Yayin and advances toward the next battlefield together, prepared to face whatever nightmare waits ahead. After another brutal fight, the squad finally pauses to rest. One of the younger members groans dramatically from exhaustion, while another jokes about how pathetic they all look standing next to Yayin, who's barely scratched and still completely calm. Naturally, everyone's eyes turn toward him with admiration. Gale Wolf sincerely thanks Yayin for leading the team safely through the chaos, but Yayin casually brushes the praise aside like it was nothing important. Then he suddenly drops another surprise. He won't be returning with the group. There's something deeper inside the danger zone he wants to investigate personally. Gale Wolf immediately looks shocked and asks if he seriously plans to continue alone. Given the danger levels deeper inside the city, that honestly sounds insane. But Yayin simply smiles confidently and assures them he'll manage somehow. One teammate tries convincing him to stay with the squad, but Gale Wolf stops the argument himself. According to the captain, following Yayin further would only slow him down. After witnessing his true strength, nobody doubts he can survive alone anymore. And deep down, Yayin already knows why he needs to continue forward. Before facing stronger enemies and terrifying clans in the future, he first needs to fully understand the limits of his healing talent. Deep down, Yayin can feel it, an urge he can't ignore anymore. He doesn't just want to believe in his healing talent, he wants to push it to the absolute limit in a real fight where death is actually on the table. As he ventures deeper into the wild zone, the atmosphere changes fast. The air grows heavy with a sharp, rotten smell that instantly makes him frown. One look around is enough for him to realize the truth. He's entered a beast nest. Stepping carefully through the area, Yayin suddenly feels something wrong beneath his feet. Then the ground violently trembles. A giant clawed hand bursts upward from below and swings straight at him. The impact comes fast, but Yayin regains his balance almost instantly. And the moment he properly sees the creature standing before him, his eyes sharpen with excitement instead of fear. The king of lizards, exactly what he wanted. A perfect monster to test whether his healing talent can truly survive overwhelming damage in real combat. Without hesitation, the giant lizard opens its jaws and unleashes a torrent of flames directly at him. His clothes ignite almost immediately, but strangely enough, Yayin looks more excited than worried. Not far away, the Gale Wolf squad notices the explosion of fire in the distance. Captain Gale Wolf quickly recognizes the lone figure battling the massive beast, Yayin, and somehow that lunatic is charging straight into a fire-breathing king lizard without hesitation. For Yayin, this battle isn't about victory alone anymore. It's an experiment. Instead of finishing the creature quickly, he intentionally drags the fight out. He keeps exposing himself to damage repeatedly, forcing his body to endure wave after wave of fire just to see whether the beast's flames can overpower his healing ability, or whether his healing will outlast the monster instead. The battlefield erupts into non-stop explosions. Firestorms rage endlessly across the ruins for nearly an entire hour. From the distance, the Gale Wolf squad watches anxiously as flames swallow everything in sight. One of the younger members quietly asks the question nobody else wants to say aloud. Is Yayin even still alive in there? Even Gale Wolf looks tense, but he admits the truth. The fight happening before them is far beyond their level. There's absolutely nothing they can do to interfere. Eventually, the flames finally begin to die down, and from the burning wasteland, Yayin calmly walks out. Alive, unshaken, standing behind him is the corpse of the fallen beast. Looking down at the dead king lizard, Yayin quietly mutters that he won the gamble. More importantly, his healing talent passed the test. The ability truly works, but the battle revealed something else too. Healing this powerful burns through stamina insanely fast. Completely drained, Yayin glances toward the corpse of the mid-tier beast and immediately decides to use its monster blood to recover his strength faster. Meanwhile, the Gale Wolf squad notices the fire finally disappearing and immediately focuses on the battlefield. Then they see him, walking out of the smoke completely alive. Relief instantly spreads through the entire group. Yayin looks slightly surprised they're still waiting around and reminds Gale Wolf that he already told them to head back earlier. Scratching the back of his head awkwardly, Gale Wolf admits they stayed because they were worried. Even if they couldn't help much, abandoning him didn't feel right. One of the female teammates suddenly notices that Yayin's clothes were basically destroyed by the flames. Feeling embarrassed for him, she quickly offers him a spare set while apologizing that the clothes might be oversized. Yayin thanks her sincerely and puts them on without complaining. Soon everyone's attention shifts toward the battlefield, rewards scattered everywhere. Massive piles of monster corpses cover the area. One teammate asks what they should do with all the loot, and Gale Wolf immediately says they'll follow Yayin's decision since he did most of the fighting. But Yayin refuses to take everything for himself. According to him, the squad stayed behind instead of abandoning him, so now that the danger is over, everyone should share the rewards and bring them back together. The group bursts into laughter at that. One teammate jokes that the monsters failed to kill them, but carrying all these heavy corpses back to base just might finish the job instead. When Yayin suddenly announces he isn't returning with them, Gale Wolf looks genuinely confused and asks where he plans to go now. Calmly, Yayin answers that he's heading toward the mighty ant territory. The second those words leave his mouth, Gale Wolf's expression changes instantly. He knows exactly how dangerous that place is. A single mighty ant might seem weak alone, but inside their nest they become nightmares. Thousands attack together in coordinated swarms capable of overwhelming even powerful warriors. Once surrounded, survival becomes almost impossible. According to Gale Wolf, going there alone is basically suicide. Even after hearing that warning, Yayin remains completely calm and continues forward without hesitation. Eventually, he arrives near the ant territory and immediately notices something unexpected. The area is packed with people. Multiple powerful factions from different bases have gathered already. Among them, Yayin spots both the Mo family and the Lin family. Then his attention shifts toward an elderly man radiating overwhelming pressure nearby. Curious, Yayin wonders which faction the old man belongs to. Soon he learns the answer. Elder Qing, a respected powerhouse from Iron Fang Base. The moment Yayin realizes how many major forces gathered here, the situation becomes clear. This isn't just another dangerous mission anymore. It's become a major event drawing serious attention from every side. And now, he's stepping directly into the middle of it. Unfortunately, Elder Qing's senses are incredibly sharp. It doesn't take long before he notices someone observing from the shadows nearby. His expression immediately hardens as he orders his men to capture the hidden spy. Even while surrounded, Yayin doesn't panic at all. Deep down, he already expected that sooner or later he'd have to interact with powerful factions directly. Getting caught here might even help him learn useful information. The guards quickly surround him, while Elder Qing steps forward demanding to know who he is, and why he was secretly watching everyone from a distance. Without showing the slightest fear, Yayin calmly explains that he's from Linhai Base and simply came after hearing about the operation because he wanted to participate. Though cautious, Elder Qing still looks impressed by his composure and eventually orders his men to stand down. Meanwhile, confusion spreads throughout the gathered factions. None of the major families recognize Yayin. One after another, powerful clans deny knowing him entirely, which only makes the situation stranger. Studying him carefully, Elder Qing realizes how unusual this is. A young elite martial warrior with no famous family backing him should practically be impossible. His talent is obvious, but his unknown background raises even more suspicion. Just as Elder Qing begins pressing further about his identity, the Lin family head suddenly steps forward and confidently claims Yayin as one of their own people. The move is smooth, fast, calculated. After witnessing Yayin's strength, the Lin family clearly doesn't want another faction recruiting him first. Watching the scene unfold, Yayin isn't surprised in the slightest. He already expected powerful families would immediately try pulling him into their side once they discovered he was an elite martial warrior. The Lin family simply moved first. Without resisting, Yayin quietly plays along and blends himself into the group naturally. Meanwhile, the Lin family head looks secretly pleased with himself. From his perspective, he basically gained a powerful ally for free. High above the battlefield, two familiar girls watch everything from a hidden location. Xiao Yu looks visibly annoyed seeing the Lin family trying to claim Yayin like some kind of prize they discovered first. Beside her, Yui Ling calmly agrees. In her eyes, someone with Yayin's potential doesn't belong serving some second-rate family. Someone like him should stand at the very top beside organizations like the Martial Pavilion instead. Now that his identity as an elite martial warrior is exposed publicly, Yayin understands things won't stay simple anymore. Hiding his true strength is no longer an option. Still, he isn't worried. With the power he possesses now, he believes he can handle whatever comes next. Suddenly, a voice shouts for everyone to prepare. One of the warriors reports to Elder Qing that the formation is complete and ready to activate. Elder Qing slowly turns his gaze toward a cluster of rough dirt mounds rising from the ground in the distance. The mighty ant nest, the exact place Yayin came searching for. Elder Qing orders the formation user back into position before raising his hand calmly. Then with cold focus, he activates the formation and commands it to break open the nest. The next second, the sky erupts. A massive rain of flames crashes downward in a devastating technique known as flame shower. The entire battlefield turns into an inferno. Explosions descend endlessly from above like a meteor storm, engulfing the entire ant territory beneath overwhelming firepower. Watching from afar, one warrior realizes the terrifying truth immediately. Elder Qing isn't merely powerful, he's a formation master. And suddenly, the strength behind Iron Fang Base makes a lot more sense. Even Yui Ling and Xiao Yu watching from the cliffs look stunned. One of them quietly comments that formations on this scale cost an absurd amount of resources. Maybe Elder Qing went too far, but deep down, both girls understand why. Iron Fang Base has ambitions of its own. And if sacrificing one expensive formation helps them seize influence over Linhai Base, then the price means nothing to them. Eventually, the flames begin fading away. Everyone stares toward the battlefield expecting mountains of dead mighty ants. Instead, there's nothing, no corpses, no remains. No proof the ants even existed, only scorched earth and drifting ash. Immediately, warriors scatter everywhere searching for bodies or signs of destruction, but the result stays the same. Nothing. The tension grows heavier by the second. Did Flame Shower really annihilate the entire colony? Or did something survive underground? Nearby, Yayin clenches his fists in frustration. Without an intact mighty ant body, he can't copy the talent he came here for, and that overwhelming attack burned everything into dust. Watching carefully from above, Yui Ling narrows her eyes thoughtfully. Elder Qing's formation may have worked too well. After all, attacking a mighty ant nest with overwhelming force is basically like smashing a beehive and expecting nothing to crawl back out afterward. Then suddenly, one of the warriors notices something strange. Where the mighty ant hill once stood, only a massive black pit remains. A deep hollow so dark that nobody can see the bottom. The gathered warriors slowly approach, cautious but curious, trying to figure out whether Elder Qing's formation completely erased the nest or merely exposed something worse beneath it. Then suddenly the ground trembles. A strange noise rises from the darkness below. And in the very next moment, countless giant ants explode upward from the pit in violent waves. The entire battlefield instantly descends into chaos. Ants flood the area endlessly, pouring out in numbers so overwhelming that even experienced warriors freeze in shock. Nobody expected the colony to be this massive. Elder Qing reacts immediately and roars for everyone to prepare for battle. The warriors snap into formation at once, and the war begins. Chaos erupts across the battlefield as the Lin family's leader charges forward first, rallying Linhai base's martial warriors behind him. Everyone surges ahead at full force, while Yein's blades flash through the swarm like dark lightning. The warriors attack fiercely, cutting down ants one after another while confidence rapidly begins spreading through the front lines. One warrior cheers loudly after killing an ant, boosting morale for everyone nearby. Meanwhile, amidst all the chaos, Yeyin remains calm, focused, sharp. As he moves past the corpse of a fallen mighty ant, he casually brushes against it for a single moment. Instantly, something activates. A surge of power rushes through his body. His status window updates immediately. High-tier strength talent successfully copied. The difference hits him right away. His body feels heavier, stronger, sharper. Even in the middle of battle, the copied strength talent immediately offers him fusion, but Yeyin refuses to do it now. Fusion requires concentration, and this battlefield is pure chaos. Without hesitation, he activates his speed talent instead. His body becomes a blur while dark energy wraps around his sword through Shadow Blade. Then he unleashes another technique, Shadow Assassin. His figure nearly vanishes entirely as he cuts silently through the battlefield. Mighty ants collapse one after another before they can even react to his movements. Then suddenly, everything changes. A suffocating pressure crashes over the battlefield. The air itself feels heavy enough to crush bones. The ground trembles violently beneath everyone's feet. Slowly, all eyes turn toward the center of the battlefield. And there it stands, a massive high-tier mighty ant. The creature radiates a terrifying aura that instantly freezes countless warriors in place. Fear spreads rapidly throughout the battlefield as retreat orders begin echoing everywhere. Some warriors don't hesitate even slightly. They turn around and run immediately. Panic spreads like wildfire as weapons get dropped. Formations collapse and desperate screams fill the air while people beg not to be abandoned. High above the battlefield, Yui Ling watches the chaos unfold from afar and scoffs coldly at the sight. According to her, they're nothing but a bunch of cowards. Beside her, Xiao Yu looks worried about Yeyin still being trapped down there, but Yui Ling remains strangely calm. She believes he'll survive. Completely. Back below, warriors begin yelling at each other in frustration. Everyone expected some powerful figure to step forward against the high-tier ant, yet nobody moves. Because the truth is obvious now. No ordinary great martial warrior can fight a high-tier mighty ant enhanced with a strength talent. That level of physical force borders on Grandmaster territory. And the most humiliating part, Elder Qing, the man everyone trusted most, becomes one of the first people to retreat. The second he flees, countless warriors lose hope instantly. The people they depended on most turned out to be the first ones running for their lives. Deep within the ant territory, one warrior suddenly collapses to his knees gasping for air. The atmosphere itself feels oppressive now. Heavy, crushing, suffocating. An invisible pressure drags down his entire body until even standing becomes difficult. But inside that dense mist of chaos, Yeyin moves faster instead of slowing down. While others crumble under the pressure, he cuts through the darkness like a shadow. He immediately realizes the mist isn't natural. It's a suppressor. Anyone trapped inside too long will eventually die from exhaustion. And Yeyin refuses to fall here. Not now, not after everything. At the same time, he quickly realizes something else. The golden ant likely focuses primarily on large coordinated groups. The more organized the target appears, the more dangerous they seem in its eyes. Because of that, Yeyin quietly separates himself from Gale Wolf's squad. Retreating separately increases survival chances for everyone. Still, while looking back briefly, he can't help admiring Gale Wolf's team. Their battlefield cleanup is ridiculously efficient. They leave behind almost nothing except stripped ant skeletons. That kind of precision only comes from true veteran hunters. Soon after moving deeper into the battlefield alone, the familiar status window appears again. High-tier strength talent successfully copied. Fuse now? This time Yeyin accepts immediately. The second fusion begins, overwhelming power floods through his body. But this strength feels different, solid, absolute, not temporary power, real dominance. With this talent, Yayin finally feels capable of standing against powerful clans and elite figures head-on. He no longer needs protection from anyone. Strength like this changes everything. It turns him into both weapon and shield at the same time. Once the fusion completes, Yayin quietly looks toward the horizon with calm resolve. It's time to return home. Sitting alone later, Yayin silently reflects on the strength he just obtained. The high-tier strength talent boosts his physical power nearly tenfold. Technically, he's still only an elite martial warrior. But now, even beginner-level great martial warriors would be effortless opponents for him. Back at home, Yeyu stares at him in complete disbelief. Since returning, he's barely spoken at all. He just sits there silently like some ancient sage contemplating the mysteries of the universe. Honestly, he doesn't even look like her brother anymore. Trying to get a reaction out of him, Yeyu starts teasing him non-stop. First, she accuses him of acting distant. Then she jokes that maybe he suddenly became deaf and mute. Still nothing. So naturally, she escalates immediately. With an evil little grin, she dumps an absurd amount of salt into his food as revenge and proudly declares that he totally deserves it. A little while later, she announces dinner proudly, finally pulling Yayin out of his thoughts. Walking over to the table, he's genuinely surprised by the amount of food prepared. Yeyu proudly explains that she made everything herself because her brother has been working hard lately and deserves a proper feast. Smiling softly, Yayin promises to eat every single dish she prepared. But just as he's about to start eating, someone knocks on the door. Before he can move, Yeyu complains from behind him, telling him to at least taste the food before running off again. Ignoring the complaint, Yayin opens the door and immediately looks surprised. Captain Gale Wolf stands outside casually. The captain greets him warmly before explaining he came personally to deliver Yayin's share of the operation rewards. Then he pulls out an enormous bundle showing just how much money and loot Yayin earned. Naturally, Yayin tries refusing politely, insisting it wasn't necessary. But Gale Wolf shakes his head immediately. Everyone received a share, and Yayin deserves his portion more than anyone else. After accepting it, Yayin steps aside and invites the captain inside for dinner. The second Gale Wolf sees the dishes on the table. His eyes practically start glowing. He immediately accepts the invitation without hesitation. Soon, he's sitting at the table devouring food happily, while admitting between bites that he hasn't tasted homemade cooking this good in ages. Meanwhile, Yayin quietly tells him to eat as much as he wants since he honestly isn't very hungry himself. Yeyu suddenly starts asking whether the food turned out too salty, but before she can finish, Gale Wolf casually says the seasoning tastes lighter than usual to him. Maybe she accidentally used less salt this time. Hearing that, Yeyu simply shrugs and lets it go, satisfied enough that someone enjoys the food anyway. After dinner ends, Gale Wolf finally asks Yayin what he wanted to discuss. Yayin explains that he spent the last few days cultivating at home, meaning he's completely out of touch with the latest developments regarding the beast clearing operation. Immediately, Gale Wolf's expression darkens. According to him, both Iron Fang Base and Linhai Base suffered catastrophic losses. More than 50 elite martial warriors died already, and even worse, 3 great martial warriors were killed too. Shocked, Yayin asks whether it all happened near the mighty ant nest. Gale Wolf confirms it. After the first wave retreated, a second much stronger force entered the battlefield. Even that wasn't enough. Eventually, Iron Fang Base had no choice but to send an actual Grandmaster to completely destroy the ant colony. Hearing that instantly makes Yayin realize how horrifying the situation became. Once a Grandmaster gets involved, the battle has already surpassed normal disaster levels completely. Next, Yayin asks whether the commercial trade route was successfully cleared in the end. Gale Wolf nods, saying the route is technically open now, but admits he still doesn't fully trust Iron Fang Base's true intentions. Quietly, Yayin begins wondering whether sacrificing so many lives was ever truly worth it. And somehow, the name Iron Fang Base continues lingering in his thoughts afterward. Eventually, Gale Wolf thanks them for the meal and prepares to leave. Yayin walks him to the door while the captain reassures him that they'll definitely meet again soon. But right as Gale Wolf steps outside, another visitor arrives. A man politely introduces himself as Mo Yuan, butler of the Mo family, then he presents an invitation. According to him, the Mo family head wishes to invite Yayin personally for a meal. The sudden invitation catches Yayin off guard. Without thinking too deeply about it, he calmly declines and says he simply isn't interested in going out lately. The atmosphere instantly changes. Mo Yuan's expression hardens immediately. Apparently, nobody has ever dared reject an invitation from the Mo family before. Gale Wolf quickly tries calming the situation and suggests discussing things peacefully, but Mo Yuan completely ignores him and arrogantly warns Yayin to obey if he knows what's good for him. Gale Wolf attempts stopping the argument again, but things escalate too quickly. The moment Mo Yuan places a hand on Yayin's shoulder, everything changes. In one smooth motion, Yayin grabs him violently, drags him downward, and slams him face first into the ground hard enough to shatter his arm instantly. The gap in strength becomes obvious instantly, yet Yeshin remains completely calm, almost caught off guard by just how monstrous his new talent truly is. He casually tells Gale Wolf not to worry, brushing the whole incident aside like it was nothing. Meanwhile, Mo Yuan stumbles back toward the Mo family estate filled with rage and humiliation. His pride has been crushed beyond repair. As he storms off clutching his ruined arm, he swears revenge under his breath over and over again. Back at the Mo family estate, Mo Yuan falls to his knees before the patriarch, begging for justice. His face is twisted with humiliation as he pleads desperately to be avenged. Mo Changjin, the current head of the Mo family and an elite martial warrior, looks down at him coldly and reminds him that he was sent to deliver an invitation, not create problems. Mo Yuan hurriedly defends himself, insisting he remained respectful the entire time. According to him, Yayin became hostile the moment he heard the words Mo family. Worse still, he claims Yayin not only attacked him without reason, but also tore apart the invitation personally written by Mo Kong himself. The moment Changjin hears that, his expression changes instantly. His pride takes a direct hit. The idea that someone would reject the Mo family's invitation and destroy a letter carrying his name completely enrages him. He explodes in fury, unable to accept that anyone would dare ignore the authority of the Mo family. Then suddenly a weak cough cuts through the room. Nearby sits Changjin, the former patriarch and Changjin's father. His complexion is pale and frail, his body barely holding together. Changjin immediately rushes to support him and urges him to take his medicine, but Changjin calmly reveals the truth. During the battle against the mighty ants, he was forced to use a forbidden technique just to survive. Though it saved his life, the backlash destroyed his body from within. Another violent cough escapes him before he quietly admits the worst part. His core is permanently damaged. There is no recovery. Changjin tries comforting him, insisting there may still be hope, but Changjin simply shakes his head. Nobody understands his condition better than he does. His death is only a matter of time now. And without a great martial warrior protecting them, the future of the Mo family looks dangerously unstable. Meanwhile, Mo Yuan continues venting his frustration, suspecting that Yayin may simply be waiting for the Lin family to recruit him first. If that happens, the Mo family will lose an unbelievable talent to their rivals. Changjin's eyes turn cold immediately. Since kindness failed, they'll take Yayin by force instead. Still, Kang raises one concern. Yayin isn't actually part of the Mo family. Even if they capture him, how could they ever trust his loyalty? But Changjin already prepared for that too. He pulls out a small bottle and reveals the horrifying truth behind it. Inside is an elixir capable of erasing a person's will entirely, turning them into a perfectly obedient puppet. Originally, they planned to slip it into Yayin's drink during the feast invitation. Now they'll simply use it directly. As Changjin hands over the bottle, even Kang feels disturbed by the implications. This isn't simple manipulation anymore. It's the destruction of someone's soul, but Changjin continues coldly. The plan is simple now. First, they erase Yayin's will. Then they give him a new identity within the Mo family itself. Publicly, they'll claim he's an illegitimate child of Changjin, allowing them to change his surname to Mo without suspicion. That way, nobody would ever question his loyalty or position. Kang stares at his father in disbelief after hearing the words illegitimate child, but Changjin dismisses the concern immediately. It doesn't matter whether Yayin becomes his son or Changjin's. The only thing that matters is attaching him permanently to the Mo bloodline. Even Changjin feels uncomfortable hearing it, more worried about damaging his father's honor than anything else. But Changjin brushes it aside. Time is running out. If they hesitate too long, Yayin may end up serving another power entirely. Without further argument, Kang accepts the order. He announces that he'll personally take 10 great elders with him to complete the mission. With that kind of force, capturing a mere young warrior should be effortless. Soon after, the Mo family puts the operation into motion. One of their operatives quietly sneaks into Yayin's home and signals back that he's inside. Their goal is simple and ruthless. Capture Yayu and force Yayin into submission. Outside, another team waits silently, ready to strike at any moment. Everything appears to be going perfectly. The signal is finally given, move now, but the instant they advance, a voice suddenly echoes through the room. Yeshin appears before them calmly. He had been expecting them the entire time. The attackers still don't realize it yet, but they already walked straight into his trap. Elsewhere, Moan urgently speaks through a communication device asking whether Yayu has been captured yet. His voice grows increasingly anxious while repeatedly calling for the second elder. Finally, a reply comes back. But the voice answering isn't his allies. It's Yayin. Calmly, he states that Yayu has already been captured and he's bringing her back now. For one brief second, everything sounds normal. Then Moan suddenly realizes something feels wrong. He immediately demands to know who is speaking. At the same moment, nearby operatives inspect Yao's body and freeze in horror after discovering he's no longer breathing. Instantly, panic spreads. Moan screams for everyone to stay alert. Whoever contacted them clearly eliminated the second group already. Inside the enormous Linhai base, Moan struggles to understand who could possibly challenge the Mo family so openly. Suspicion spreads as he desperately searches the shadows for the hidden attacker. Then suddenly, another man is silently killed. Fear erupts throughout the group as they realize this isn't an ordinary ambush. Someone is using Shadow Assassin. Orders immediately echo everywhere for the warriors to spread out and stay alert. At that exact moment, Yeshin activates his speed talent. His movements become impossible to follow. He vanishes and reappears so quickly that even experienced warriors can't lock onto him properly. Moan stares in complete disbelief at the terrifying speed unfolding before him. One warrior spots what seems like an opening and attacks instantly, but Yeshin disappears again before the strike even lands. No matter how they react, they're always too late. Darkness begins spreading across the battlefield as Yayin activates Shadow Blade and starts slaughtering everyone present one after another. Moan desperately contacts the team above for an update, and the terrified response confirms the nightmare directly. Yayin himself has arrived. The moment Moan hears that, he explodes in fury and orders everyone to capture him immediately. The guards charge forward together, but Yeshin doesn't retreat even slightly. Instead, he activates his strength talent. Two attackers strike simultaneously. Yeshin blocks both attacks effortlessly. Everyone watching freezes in shock. Moan can hardly believe what he's seeing. Yayin was only supposed to be an elite martial warrior, but the power standing before him now is on an entirely different level. This means Yeshin has been hiding his true strength all along. And suddenly, Moan realizes he may have completely underestimated him. Calmly, Yeshin steps directly in front of Moan and confirms who he is, fully aware that this man is Mo Xiao's father. Moan forces himself to smile despite the terror creeping into his voice. He offers peace immediately, saying everything can still be resolved without bloodshed if Yeshin simply spares his life. But Yeshin has no interest in negotiating. Instead, he coldly reveals the truth himself. He was the one who killed Mo Xiao. Shockingly, Moan doesn't explode in rage after hearing it. Instead, he lowers his head and calls his own son foolish. According to him, if Mo Xiao offended Yayin, then his death was deserved. Desperation completely consumes him as he begins begging for mercy, promising money, status, power, anything Yeshin desires, but Yeshin remains unmoved. Calmly stepping closer, he explains that he prefers eliminating problems before they grow bigger. Then he kills Moan without hesitation. Yeshin never forgives anyone who threatens his sister, and once someone crosses that line, he makes sure they pay completely. This time he swears he'll wipe out the entire Mo family. Far away inside the Mo family's massive castle-like estate, an elder begins wondering why the 10 great elders still haven't returned. His son tries calming him, insisting there's no need to worry. With 10 great elders guarding Linhai base, nothing should possibly go wrong. Then suddenly, the sky flashes, a glowing sword tears through the air toward the estate itself. Yayin has arrived, and he didn't come to negotiate. Guards panic immediately, shouting and demanding to know who dares attack the Mo family directly. Then Yeshin walks out through the smoke. Coldly, he reminds them that they were the ones who tried taking his life first, yet somehow still have the nerve to ask who he is. To him, the situation is almost funny. He didn't come here for explanations. He came here to destroy everything. Fear instantly spreads through the estate as Kang recognizes him, his voice trembling in disbelief. Changjin furiously demands to know why Yayin is here and what happened to the 10 great elders. Without hesitation, Yayin answers coldly that they'll meet the elders very soon. Just not in this world. In hell. Before Kang can even react properly, Yeshin launches forward instantly and slashes straight through his chest. The attack kills him almost immediately. Watching his son collapse lifelessly to the ground, Kang's father screams in absolute horror. Grief quickly mutates into pure hatred as he accuses Yayin of being a monster. Fueled by rage, the old man activates one of the Mo family's forbidden secret arts. Yeshin recognizes the technique immediately. It's the same desperate power used earlier against the mighty ants. But this time, Yeshin doesn't feel even slightly threatened. He's already seen this trick before. The elder roars in fury as his body swells violently, clothes ripping apart while overwhelming power surges through him. Then he charges directly toward Yayin like a monster. This time, the attacks actually land. A barrage of brutal punches slams into Yeshin, driving him backward while cracking the ground beneath them. The transformed elder screams that even reducing Yayin to ashes wouldn't satisfy his hatred. He swears he'll kill him no matter what. Suddenly, alarms erupt throughout all of Linhai base. Warning sirens echo everywhere announcing that an assassin has infiltrated the Mo family estate. Guards rush through the halls shouting orders to protect the patriarch. Meanwhile, Yeshin simply stands there calmly. Honestly, he finds the timing hilarious. Only now, after he already killed the family head, are they finally reacting. Yeshin openly mocks the Mo family, calling them blind, arrogant, and way too slow to react. His words hit like knives, and the order to kill him is given immediately. A flood of guards charges forward all at once, but before they can even close the distance, a dark blur slices through the battlefield. A shadow assassin appears. Panic erupts instantly. The guards are thrown aside within seconds, their formation collapsing before anyone can properly react. The elder watches in disbelief, unable to understand how someone so young could fight at the level of a top-tier warrior. Meanwhile, Yeshin keeps his eyes locked on the old man, carefully studying the secret technique sustaining him, wondering how much longer that borrowed power can keep his body alive. The elder's rage only grows stronger as blades continue clashing violently through the night. Far away from the battlefield, another young leader quietly observes the fight from a distance. Seeing Yeshin's terrifying strength, he begins wondering whether the Mo family secretly brought in outside support. Beside him, Elder Z offers to interfere personally, but the young master calmly refuses. He wants to watch this play out naturally first. Back on the battlefield, Changking roars in frustration. Every attack he launches gets blocked or avoided effortlessly. Yeshin's speed is overwhelming him completely. Again and again, yet dodges cleanly, and slowly the old man realizes the horrifying truth. This battle is no longer in his favor. His forbidden art is draining his energy at an insane rate, while Yeshin barely even looks winded. Panic finally starts creeping into Chanking's mind. For a brief moment, he even considers calling for support from the Lin family. Meanwhile, Yeshin remains calm the entire time, mocking him lightly and telling him to keep going if that's all he has left. Driven into desperation, Chanking suddenly throws down a smoke bomb and vanishes into the haze, hoping to either escape or buy enough time to recover. But Yeshin instantly chases after him. No matter how fast the old man runs, he cannot create any distance at all. Yeshin's high-tier speed talent keeps him glued to his target like a shadow. Chanking curses bitterly under his breath when he realizes the gap between them hasn't changed even slightly. With no options left, he finally turns back around to face Yeshin once more, yet simply smirks and walks toward him. Whether the old man chooses to run or fight again makes no difference now. Yeshin is perfectly happy to continue until this ends completely. Chanking's body finally begins giving out as the secret art reaches its absolute limit. His legs fail beneath him and he crashes to the ground, understanding at last that this is the end not only for himself, but for the entire Mo family. Yeshin raises his weapon calmly and declares that it's finally time for him to die. Terrified, Chanking immediately drops to his knees and begs for mercy. He hurriedly offers Yeyin a priceless treasure, claiming it's the greatest possession he owns. The whole thing gives Yeshin serious deja vu vibes. Half amused and half suspicious, he decides to humor the old man and take a look anyway. Chanking summons a strange glowing sphere and tells Yeshin to accept it. But the instant the old man smirks, Yeshin's instincts scream danger. He immediately jumps backward. A second later, the sphere explodes violently, launching poison needles in every direction. Even though Yeshin dodges most of them, one still manages to leave a small cut across his face. The hidden poison immediately reveals just how disgusting the Mo family truly is. Chanking bursts into laughter, convinced he has finally won and that the deadly toxin will finish Yeshin off. Instead, Yeshin calmly activates his healing talent. The wound disappears instantly like it never existed. Chanking's laughter dies on the spot. He stares in complete horror, unable to comprehend how Yeshin possesses so many monstrous abilities at once. Yeshin only smirks before casually firing the same poison needle straight back through the old man's chest. Then he coldly sends him off to the afterlife. Elsewhere, Yeyu anxiously wonders why her brother still hasn't returned. Meanwhile, Captain Gale Wolf complains that he feels more like her babysitter than a warrior. Then suddenly, Yeshin appears behind him mid-complaint. The moment Gale Wolf sees him, relief floods across his face immediately. Yeshin thanks him sincerely for protecting his sister, and the captain curiously asks whether everything has been handled already. With a calm nod, Yeshin confirms it. From this moment onward, the Mo family no longer exists within Linhai base. Gale Wolf reacts in shock at how ruthless that sounds, though deep down he's clearly impressed too. Yet quickly asks whether Yeyu is safe and whether any assassins managed to reach her. Hearing that she's asleep peacefully after being given a tranquilizer finally eases his mind. With the danger gone, the cold rooftop suddenly feels unnecessary, so they all head back inside together. While walking, Yeshin quietly mentions that he wants Yeyu to begin cultivating seriously. The idea catches Gale Wolf off guard, but Yeshin asks whether there's any shortcut ordinary people can use to grow stronger quickly. The captain laughs softly and tells him the truth is actually simple. There are no shortcuts. Real growth requires absurd amounts of money and resources, which is exactly why powerful families dominate cultivation in the first place. Yeshin falls silent for a moment after hearing that. The answer was far simpler than he expected. Before leaving, Gale Wolf suggests Yeshin go upstairs and check on Yeyu personally, yet nods and heads toward the bedroom. The moment Yeyu sees him, she immediately rushes into his arms, overwhelmed with relief. She had genuinely feared he might never return this time. Now that he's finally back, she clings tightly to him while emotions pour out uncontrollably. Yeshin gently reassures her there's nothing to fear anymore and promises that he'll always stay by her side. Still emotional, Yeyu quietly asks if he truly means it. Without hesitation, Yeshin gives her his word. Meanwhile, rumors about the Mo family's destruction begin spreading rapidly across the base. Everyone is stunned that such a powerful family vanished overnight. And as the details circulate, one terrifying fact becomes impossible to ignore. The entire family was destroyed by a single individual. People begin questioning just how strong Yeyin really is, realizing he's far beyond what anyone imagined before. Soon after, excitement stirs throughout the area as the Lin family arrives. Lin Mingji walks forward confidently beside the powerful warrior Lin Si, their presence instantly drawing attention from everyone nearby. Servants rush to inform the higher-ups while whispers about the Mo family continue spreading everywhere. People still struggle to believe that the Mo patriarch died so suddenly. The conversation eventually shifts toward the Mo family's hidden trump card, the infamous Iron Pearl. That sinister treasure possessed terrifying destructive power capable of completely changing battles. Its range was deadly, and it was only meant to be used in absolute desperation. Yet despite unleashing it, the Mo family still failed. Not only did Yeshin survive the Iron Pearl, but he even turned its own golden poison needle against them, using it to kill Mo Changking himself. The very weapon meant to save the family became the tool that destroyed it instead. As rumors continue spreading, surviving witnesses gradually piece together a horrifying conclusion. The one responsible likely possesses strength comparable to a peak great martial warrior. And even more unsettling, this terrifying figure doesn't appear to belong to Linhai Base at all. Naturally, suspicion immediately shifts toward Iron Fang Base. Many begin believing Iron Fang orchestrated the Mo family's destruction intentionally as a show of force. The theory only gains momentum after another disturbing detail surfaces. Although Iron Fang recently proposed building a commercial trade route, hidden intelligence suggests something much worse is happening near their territory. A massive monster is apparently evolving into a king-level threat, a creature so dangerous that even top warriors would fear facing it directly. If that monster fully evolves, Iron Fang Base itself may not survive. That realization changes everything. Suddenly, the trade route no longer looks like commerce. It looks like an evacuation plan. If Iron Fang and Linhai bases eventually merge, power would inevitably split between old and new factions. At that point, even the Lin family would lose complete control over its own authority. Recognizing the opportunity hidden inside the chaos, the Lin family moves quickly to take advantage of the situation. Orders are immediately issued, and Elder Z volunteers to personally deliver invitations to the major families, allowing them to divide and claim the Mo family's abandoned resources. Meanwhile, Yeshin reveals an enormous collection of powerful elixirs. The sheer quantity shocks everyone present. Even Gale Wolf admits the stash is probably worth more than entire estates. Yeyu stares in disbelief and immediately urges her brother to return them before someone tricks him somehow. But Yeshin calmly assures everyone that the elixirs are authentic and absurdly valuable. To prove it, he hands one directly to Yeyu. The moment she consumes it, her eyes widen instantly as the effects kick in almost immediately. Any remaining doubt vanishes on the spot. The atmosphere changes completely once everyone realizes how powerful the elixirs truly are. Not long after, Yeshin announces that he's leaving again. This time, his destination is the Thousand-Leaf Forest. Something important is waiting for him there. With monsters growing increasingly dangerous, Iron Fang Base has already begun relocating large numbers of people into Linhai Base for safety. The situation is clearly escalating fast. Even the two grandmasters are struggling to suppress the monster threat now. Yeshin understands the danger better than anyone. If the defenses collapse completely, disaster will follow. For him, becoming stronger is no longer optional. It's survival. Yeyu struggles emotionally hearing that he plans to leave again so soon after returning, but Yeshin remains firm. There simply isn't time to waste anymore. Gently reassuring her, he reminds her to stay focused on cultivation, continue drinking the elixirs properly, and keep practicing the body training technique under Captain Gale Wolf's guidance. Yeyu nods tearfully and promises she'll work hard. She tells him to stay safe and says she'll wait for him to come home again. Yeshin smiles softly and promises to return safely before entrusting Yeyu to Gale Wolf one more time. The captain confidently agrees, joking that a brother's little sister is basically his own sister too. Then suddenly, Gale Wolf mentions that people from Iron Fang Base have begun arriving already, and in massive numbers. Soon after, the Iron Fang convoy roars into Linhai Base with an incredibly flashy entrance. Leading the group is Sunfeng, one of the 4 great young geniuses of Iron Fang Base. As a mid-tier elite warrior, his presence alone immediately attracts attention. Riding confidently at the front on a motorbike, he carries himself like someone fully aware of his own talent. People nearby quickly begin whispering about him. His status reveals high-tier cultivation talent combined with mid-tier sword talent, a combination that already places him far above most warriors his age. Nearby, Yeyu coughs from the dust kicked up by the convoy and gets visibly annoyed by how dramatic the entire entrance feels. Yeshin quietly agrees with her discomfort. Something about the situation gives him a really bad feeling. Still, he stays calm, takes one last look around, and quietly announces that it's finally time for him to leave. Yeyu hides her worry the best she can and quietly tells Yan to stay safe. After that, Yeshin turns away from Linhai Base and walks toward whatever danger waits beyond its walls. Soon, he enters the thousand-leaf forest. At first glance, the place feels strangely barren, dry soil, lifeless trees, almost nothing matching the beautiful name it was given. But Yeshin stays cautious, scanning every inch of the area for signs of the creature he came searching for. Before long, he notices an enormous footprint pressed deep into the ground. Judging from the size and depth alone, it likely belongs to a black wolf panther, a beast famous for terrifying speed. If he can find one, it may help evolve his own speed talent even further. Then suddenly, a violent wave of energy tears through the air. The pressure is intense. Somewhere nearby, powerful monsters are fighting. Sensing an opportunity too valuable to ignore, Yeshin immediately rushes toward the source. When he arrives, the sight before him makes even him pause. Two golden dragon panthers stand facing a massive gorilla-like beast. These aren't ordinary panthers either. They're rare mutated creatures, far stronger than black wolf panthers, and their movements are so fast they almost blur from sight. Apex tier speed talent. Exactly what Yeshin came looking for. But their opponent is just as monstrous. A gigantic gorilla radiating overwhelming physical power. Its aura alone reveals that it's a high-tier beast with combat strength comparable to a peak great martial warrior. Even with their insane speed, the two panthers are struggling badly against its brute force. Yeshin watches carefully from the shadows, weighing his options. Copying a talent during a battle this dangerous won't be simple. One mistake could get him noticed or worse, killed. Then suddenly something unexpected happens. A tiny golden panther comes sprinting toward him. It's just a cub glowing faintly like gold itself, and then it speaks directly into his mind. The little panther says it wants to become his servant and offers him its light of spirit to form a bond. Curious, Yeshin checks its status immediately. The result shocks him. The cub is a rare golden dragon panther with incredible abilities, absurd speed, powerful stamina, and even a small healing talent. The little beast explains that its parents are in danger, and its mother is about to give birth to another cub. Desperate, it begs Yeshin to save them. After hearing that, Yeshin finally agrees and gives the cub a name, Little Jin. The moment their bond forms, a surge of powerful energy floods through Yeshin's body. Instantly, he copies the cub's apex tier speed talent and fuses it on the spot. With Little Jin now officially his companion and his speed evolving yet again, Yeshin prepares to enter the battle himself. He decides to help. The cub trusted him without hesitation, and somehow that alone is enough reason. Quickly checking his own status, Yeshin realizes just how ridiculous he has become. High-tier cultivation talent, apex speed, apex healing, strong sword talent, high-tier strength, shadow abilities. At this point, he's practically built like a cheat code. Yeshin calmly studies the giant gorilla and immediately targets the most vulnerable point possible, its eyes. The moment he strikes, the gorilla stumbles backward with a thunderous roar of pain. Its massive body sways violently before crashing onto the ground hard enough to shake the area. The two dragon panthers stare at Yeshin in surprise, clearly uncertain whether he's friend or threat. They step closer cautiously while growling low. But Little Jin quickly rushes in front of him, meowing loudly as if desperately trying to explain everything. Yeshin remains calm the entire time. He can already tell the mother panther is seriously injured and dangerously close to losing the unborn cub inside her. Slowly, he takes out a healing pill and places it near her while speaking softly, assuring her it's meant to help. Little Jin meows again encouragingly. After hesitating briefly, the mother panther finally swallows the pill. Moments later, a softer sound escapes her throat, calmer this time, almost grateful. Yeshin watches carefully, relieved to see the medicine taking effect. Then Little Jin points out that her father needs treatment too, and Yeshin immediately offers him a healing pill as well. The little cub beams happily and thanks him excitedly. But before the moment can settle, the injured gorilla suddenly starts moving again, trying to escape. Yeshin quickly notices something important. The panthers have no intention of letting it flee. And honestly, with this combination of speed and strength, there's almost no chance the gorilla escapes now. Then Little Jin suddenly jumps in proudly and reminds Yeshin that there aren't just 3 fighters anymore. She wants to fight too. Yeshin laughs softly and agrees, right, that makes 4. The battle resumes instantly. Yeshin dashes forward and almost loses control from the sheer speed of his newly upgraded talent. The acceleration feels insane, nearly too fast even for him, but he stabilizes quickly and focuses again. Switching immediately to his strength talent, he unleashes a full force punch directly into the gorilla. Meanwhile, the dragon panthers tear into the beast from both sides, ripping through its hide with brutal efficiency. Yeshin charges in again and absolutely hammers the gorilla with another devastating strike. Shockingly, the monster still refuses to die. Its body durability is absurd. The enraged beast swings back at Yeshin immediately, but he dodges effortlessly. Then suddenly, little Jin enters absolute menace mode. The tiny cub launches herself straight toward the gorilla's head with unbelievable speed. And unbelievably, the attack cleanly beheads the giant beast. The massive corpse crashes down lifelessly. Little Jin lands beside Yeshin afterward and looks around with wide eyes before innocently asking whether they won. Yeshin smiles and confirms it. The gorilla is finally dead. Looking toward the panthers, Yeshin can't help feeling slightly amazed himself. He never imagined he'd one day fight side by side with magical beasts like trusted allies. But the relief doesn't last long. The female dragon panther suddenly collapses again. Little Jin panics instantly and rushes toward her mother. The battle clearly caused severe internal injuries. The cub desperately calls for her again and again, not knowing what to do. Yeshin immediately kneels beside them. Thankfully, he always carries emergency medicine now. Without wasting a second, he pulls out a specialized pill designed specifically for internal damage and gently offers it to the panther mother. After hesitating briefly, she accepts it. Moments later, her breathing finally stabilizes. Little Jin immediately turns toward Yeshin with relief shining in her eyes, saying her mother already feels much better. Yeshin smiles quietly, glad she survived. Then suddenly, Little Jin senses danger approaching. A group of black wolf panthers emerges from deeper within the forest. According to Jin, they were the ones who intentionally lured the gorilla here in the first place. Their goal was simple: drive out Jin's family and take control of the forest themselves. Yeshin studies their aggressive posture carefully and immediately understands the situation. These beasts came to challenge for dominance. But Yeshin steps forward calmly and makes one thing clear immediately: he's not allowing them to take the forest by force. Without hesitation, the battle begins. The clash is fast and brutal, but in the end, Yeshin completely overwhelms them. The Black Wolf Panthers are forced to retreat, unable to compete with his strength anymore. Afterward, Yeshin lifts little Jin into his arms and declares before all the surrounding creatures that Jin will become the new leader of the forest from now on. None of the beasts oppose it. Even Jin's weakened mother slowly walks forward afterward to thank Yeshin personally. As gratitude, she offers him a special gift. Yeshin looks genuinely surprised. He never expected anything in return. Soon, little Jin leads him deeper into the forest. Along the way, Yeshin starts wondering how much farther they still need to travel. Excitedly, the little cub points toward a nearby cave and says the destination is right inside. When they arrive, Yeshin notices something glowing faintly atop a stone platform, a spiritual herb. Little Jin proudly explains that this is the gift her mother promised him. However, the fruit hasn't fully matured yet. It still needs another 30 days before becoming usable. Yeshin nods thoughtfully while studying it carefully, curious about what kind of power it may contain. Then suddenly sounds echo from deeper inside the cave. Little Jin's mother is going into labor. Yeshin encourages her gently to keep pushing, and moments later, a newborn cub's cry fills the cave. A second dragon panther is born healthy and safe. Seeing the tiny newborn, Yeshin grins proudly and jokingly declares that a future ruler of the forest has officially arrived. A full month passes afterward. Finally, the spiritual fruit ripens completely. The moment Yeshin approaches it, a rich, sweet fragrance fills the air instantly. He knows immediately that it's ready. Little Jin excitedly bounces around, urging him to hurry up and eat it already. Laughing softly at her excitement, Yeshin finally takes a bite. Then everything suddenly goes black. Later, Yeshin slowly wakes up with a pounding headache while overwhelming energy floods through his mind. Clutching his head, he realizes something inside him has fundamentally changed. This isn't ordinary power anymore. It's mental ability. A skill usually reserved only for truly powerful martial warriors, yet somehow, despite still technically being an elite warrior, Yeshin can already control it naturally. Closing his eyes briefly, he focuses. Instantly, his detection range explodes outward. Now he can sense talents from over 50 meters away, and the next discovery completely shocks him. He no longer needs physical contact to copy talents. Simply sensing them through the air is enough now. Later, another notification appears before him asking whether he wants to fuse a mid-tier endurance talent. After thinking briefly, Yeshin declines it. Right now, endurance isn't important enough. His main priority remains improving cultivation-related abilities. With everything finally settled, Yeshin prepares to return home. This journey gave him unbelievable growth, terrifying new powers, and even a loyal companion. Honestly, he's more than satisfied. Before leaving, Yeshin turns toward the panther family and sincerely thanks them for the spiritual fruit because it changed him tremendously. But just as he prepares to say goodbye, little Jin suddenly leaps forward and starts meowing frantically. She doesn't want to stay behind. She wants to travel with him. Yeshin chuckles and finally agrees, telling her there's someone back home who will absolutely adore her. Little Jin immediately lights up with happiness and thanks her master excitedly. Their journey together has officially begun. As they travel, Little Jin looks around with endless curiosity, amazed by everything outside the forest. To her, the world beyond the cave feels huge, exciting, and completely unfamiliar. Yeshin gently warns her to stay careful though, because the outside world isn't just exciting. The outside world isn't just exciting, it's cruel too, and Yeshin makes sure little Jin understands that early. Not long after, they finally reach the 5th Academy. But the moment Yeshin steps inside, something feels wrong. Then he sees him. Jiang Bao is collapsed on the ground, badly injured and barely conscious. Shock flashes across Yeshin's face as he rushes over immediately, demanding to know what happened. Jiang Bao slowly recognizes him, and Yeshin feels a brief wave of relief realizing the man is still alive. Without wasting a second, he pulls out high-tier monster blood and gives it to him to restore his strength. Whatever happened here clearly wasn't ordinary, and Yeshin instantly understands things inside Linhai base have gotten far worse while he was gone. Then the truth comes out. The people who attacked and robbed Jiang Bao were warriors from Iron Fang base. Jiang Bao weakly explains that the entire Iron Fang base has already fallen to monsters, and nearly 100,000 survivors fled into Linhai. Yeshin immediately asks the real question: who controls the base now? Jiang Bao explains that technically the Lin family still rules, but only in name. In reality, they've already lost authority. They're basically decorations at this point. Yeshin narrows his eyes, exactly what he expected. The Iron Fang survivors didn't come here as refugees. They came to take over quietly. Jiang Bao adds that conditions inside the city are worsening every single day. Robbery, violence, chaos, it's spreading everywhere now. Elsewhere, Yayu trains alongside Captain Gale Wolf. After losing yet another sparring round, she lets out an annoyed sigh, but Gale Wolf encourages her proudly, saying her improvement speed is honestly impressive. Yayu humbly insists it's only because his teaching is so good. Then suddenly she notices someone approaching. The second she realizes it's Yeshin, she practically launches herself toward him in excitement. Yeshin laughs softly and teases her for being way too dramatic. But before the reunion can settle, little Jin suddenly pops out beside him. Instantly, Yeyu's eyes sparkle. She completely abandons her brother and rushes toward the tiny golden panther instead, calling her unbelievably cute. Yeshin introduces the cub as Little Jin, and Yeyu happily repeats the name while playing with her immediately. Honestly, Yeshin looks slightly betrayed seeing the pet receive more affection than him. Gale Wolf bursts out laughing and jokes that Yeshin has officially been replaced by a kitten. After greeting the captain properly, Yeshin thanks him sincerely for taking care of Yeyu while he was away. Gale Wolf proudly reveals that Yeyu has already become a martial apprentice through pure hard work and dedication. But the conversation quickly turns serious. Gale Wolf asks whether Yeshin has heard the rumors about Iron Fang base beginning its silent invasion of Linhai. Yeshin already knows, but calmly asks if anything happened while he was away. Thankfully, Gale Wolf reassures him that everything at home remains safe. Then he mentions something unexpected. After Yeshin left, Xiao Yu visited personally and left behind a martial pavilion token. She explained that anyone from Iron Fang would hesitate before causing trouble once they saw it. Hearing that, Yeshin quietly realizes she's been protecting his family from the shadows this entire time. Then Gale Wolf drops another issue entirely. A man named Sunfang has been repeatedly showing up to challenge Yeshin to a death match. The name immediately triggers Yeshin's memory. Sunfang, one of the 4 great geniuses of Iron Fang base. Yeshin remembers checking his talents before: high-tier cultivation, dangerous sword ability, and a terrifying reputation. Since arriving in Linhai, Sunfang has crushed elite martial warriors one after another without losing a single duel. Gale Wolf warns Yeshin not to underestimate him, but instead of concern, Yeshin's eyes sharpen with interest. The challenge actually sounds fun to him. Soon enough, Sunfang himself arrives, roaring into the area on a motorcycle loud enough to draw everyone's attention instantly. Without wasting time, he confirms Yeshin's identity and says he's been waiting for this moment. Yeshin simply nods calmly. Then Sunfang officially declares the challenge. Tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock sharp, Mingui Plaza, a duel, and the wager is a bronze-ranked blade technique. Sunfang leans slightly forward and openly dares Yeshin to actually show up. But while the others focus on the challenge itself, Yeshin quietly activates his ability. Without anyone noticing, he successfully copies Sunfang's high-tier cultivation talent. A faint smile forms on Yeshin's face afterward as he calmly accepts the duel without hesitation. No fear, no doubt. Seeing that confidence, Sunfang smirks before revving his bike and speeding away. Yeshin watches him disappear into the distance silently. Behind him, someone immediately complains that accepting the duel was reckless beyond belief. They're convinced Yeshin has no chance against someone like Sunfang, but Yeshin simply replies that the outcome isn't nearly as obvious as they think. Soon after, his status window appears again. His current abilities already look absurd. High-tier cultivation talent, apex-tier speed, mid-tier sword skill, novice shadow talent, apex healing, high-tier strength, but Yeshin still isn't satisfied. Since he now possesses another high-tier cultivation talent, he decides to stack them together and force an evolution. Without hesitation, he initiates the fusion. The result immediately pushes his cultivation talent into apex-tier territory. Now, with his power climbing to an entirely different level, Yeshin smiles slightly. Tomorrow's duel doesn't worry him anymore. If anything, he's genuinely excited for it now. The next day, Minghui Plaza is overflowing with people. Everyone is talking about the upcoming duel because Sunfang has once again chosen a massive public stage for his fight, exactly like he always does. So far, he hasn't lost even once. The crowd whispers endlessly about his next opponent. Most people don't even recognize Yeshin's name. Some assume he's just another unlucky nobody. Others vaguely remember hearing rumors about him, but still dismiss him completely. Many can't even understand why Sunfang bothered challenging someone so unknown, but others begin piecing things together. Every duel Sunfang wins ends with damage to a family merit monument. This isn't just about personal glory anymore. He's humiliating the major families of Linhai publicly one by one. Around the plaza, thousands gather while all eyes lock onto the arena. Yayu stares at the massive crowd nervously and admits this is way bigger and louder than she expected. Standing beside her, Gale Wolf explains that Sunfang intentionally turns every duel into a public spectacle because the more witnesses there are, the greater his reputation grows. Yayu starts getting anxious. With so many people here, even reaching her brother feels impossible. Part of her honestly wants to leave because the duel feels dangerous. But Yeshin calmly looks her in the eyes and reassures her confidently that everything will be fine. He promises he'll come right back afterward. Then all attention shifts toward the arena as Yeshin steps forward. The whispers spread instantly. So this is the guy Sunfang challenged? Honestly, many look disappointed. They expected someone far more intimidating. Even Sunfang himself admits he didn't think Yeshin would actually show up. The wagers are displayed openly. Sunfang offers a bronze-ranked sword skill called Current Blade. If Yeshin wins, it becomes his. In response, Yeshin casually reveals his own bronze-rank skill, Shadow Blade, matching the wager perfectly. Sunfang's expression darkens immediately. To him, Yeshin's confidence feels borderline insulting. Then just before the duel begins, Yayu suddenly shouts desperately from the crowd for her brother to be careful. And seconds later, the battle starts. Sunfang attacks first immediately, charging forward while unleashing rapid sword strikes. But the moment Yeshin moves, the entire crowd freezes. His speed is so ridiculous that most people can barely follow him at all. Yeshin effortlessly avoids every slash while remaining perfectly calm. Sunfang grows visibly irritated and mocks him for running around like a rat instead of fighting properly. Then Yeshin counters instantly. One clean punch lands directly on Sunfang and launches him flying across the arena. The crowd gasps in shock. The man everyone expected to lose just flipped the entire duel in one move. Yeshin stands calmly afterward and casually asks whether he still looks like a rat now. Sunfang slowly rises back to his feet, wiping blood from his mouth. The arrogance on his face disappears completely. Now there's only focus. He finally admits Yeshin is far stronger than expected, but swears the real battle starts now because he hasn't gone all out yet. The atmosphere grows tense instantly. Sunfang roars and unleashes Windlash, an incredibly fast sword technique that tears through the air toward Yeshin. The attack even slices through part of the Lin family merit monument behind them. The crowd erupts in outrage seeing him damage a sacred symbol so casually just to win. But Yeshin himself remains completely unfazed. With terrifying precision, he dodges the entire attack effortlessly. His expression doesn't even change. At that point, Sunfang's frustration starts boiling over because no matter what he throws out, Yeshin still hasn't taken a single hit. Then Yeshin casually reveals the truth. He never took the duel seriously in the first place. He only prolonged the fight to study and learn Windlash. That was his real goal from the beginning. The crowd immediately explodes into chaos hearing that. To Yeshin, Sunfang was never a true opponent, just a convenient stepping stone. Furious beyond reason, Sunfang charges in for one last desperate attack, but in a single flash, Yeshin ends everything instantly. He shatters Sunfang's sword with a punch, slams him face-first into the ground, and finishes the duel immediately afterward. Clean, effortless, over. Yeshin turns away without even bothering to celebrate because to him, the fight barely counted as effort. The plaza erupts with cheers the moment Sunfang falls. Everyone stares at Yeshin in complete disbelief. Some call him a future legend. Others can't stop praising how casually he crushed one of Iron Fang's greatest talents. Moments later, Yayu rushes toward him completely overwhelmed by how powerful her brother has become. Her eyes practically shine with admiration as she excitedly begs him to teach her everything once they get home. Yeshin laughs it off at first, but seeing Yeyu that happy genuinely softens his heart for a moment. Meanwhile, the Lin family stands frozen in silence as their shattered merit monument lies in ruins behind the arena, a symbol of pride, broken in front of everyone. Even though Yeshin won the duel, the Lin family understands they still lost face today. Quietly, the young master gives an order to his guards. There's no need to protect him anymore. Instead, they are to focus entirely on protecting Yeshin's sister, because everyone already knows what comes next. The Sun family will never swallow this humiliation quietly, and if revenge comes, Yeyu will likely become the target. Later, inside Captain Gale Wolf's home, Yeshin sits on the couch lost in thought over the wind cutter technique, an ability capable of multiplying attack power sixfold. After spending the entire night studying it, he finally lets out a long, exhausted yawn and closes the book. Walking toward the window, he opens his status screen, only to realize there are still 30 full days left before he can copy another talent. A frustrated curse slips out under his breath immediately, but after a moment he calms himself down. There's no shortcut around the cooldown. Once it ends, he plans to copy Sun Fang's superior-grade swordsmanship talent, and if that succeeds, his power would leap straight into Grandmaster territory instantly. Yeshin quietly reminds himself that anyone who wants to stand at the very top needs strength on that level. Elsewhere, in a quiet alley behind the house, Yeyu continues practicing swordsmanship against a wooden dummy. Her strikes are sharp now, focused. Captain Gale Wolf watches silently from a distance, but his thoughts clearly aren't on training. He's worried. Even after the tournament ended, someone like the Sun family won't simply let this go, and if they decide to retaliate, Yeyu could be caught in the middle. Eventually, Yeyu stops to catch her breath and takes a long drink from her water bottle. Then she notices the captain staring blankly at her. Curious, she asks why he's looking at her like that. Snapping back to reality, Gale Wolf awkwardly clears his throat, slightly embarrassed that he got lost in thought again. Then he calls her over. As Yeyu approaches, he hands her a cross-shaped amulet and quietly tells her never to remove it no matter what happens. Yeyu examines the amulet carefully, instantly finding it beautiful, and asks what exactly it is. Gale Wolf simply repeats that it's an important charm and insists she must keep it on at all times. Yeyu nods seriously and promises she'll protect it carefully. Not far away, a woman jogs confidently down the street before turning the corner toward them. The second she sees the captain, she immediately says she has new information. Gale Wolf asks whether it's news about the Sun family. She confirms it is. Apparently, members of the Sun family have been busy purchasing large amounts of property throughout the market district. The captain's expression shifts immediately. If they're buying property instead of attacking, then their momentum has slowed, which means they likely won't make a move until they've fully settled themselves inside Linhai. At the same time, an old man wearing a wide-brimmed hat quietly throws trash into a nearby bin. His face remains hidden beneath the shadow of the hat, and his presence feels strangely grim. A month passes, and once again, that same old man appears outside another building tossing away garbage. Nearby, Yeshin exits casually while eating snacks as he walks down the street. The moment he passes the old man, his spiritual pressure flares ever so slightly. Instantly, sweat forms on the old man's forehead. He can barely comprehend what he just felt. Someone as young as Yeshin already controlling spiritual energy, that's normally something only top-tier martial artists can achieve. Yeshin calmly pulls his hood over his face, while thinking to himself that the Lin family really is watching him far too closely if they've stationed a martial spy outside his home for over a month straight. Eventually, he arrives at the martial market and quietly reflects on the Sun family. Their bloodline practices are completely twisted. For generations, they've relied on inbreeding purely to preserve the purity of their swordsmanship talent. Any children born with defects or mental illnesses were secretly discarded. That alone tells Yeshin exactly how rotten the Sun family truly is. Soon after, Yeshin arrives at a newly opened Sun family shop. Inside, Mr. Sun proudly announces a 50% discount celebration for the grand opening while customers happily congratulate him and wish prosperity upon the business. The atmosphere is cheerful, warm, until Yeshin appears. The second he steps around the corner, the mood changes instantly. Electricity crackles violently around his hand as purple energy spreads outward from his fingers. His aura alone sends chills through the area. Then he calmly offers his own congratulations. Not for the grand opening, but for what he calls Mr. Sun's final day alive. Without hesitation, Yeshin copies Mr. Sun's talent immediately, and the moment the transfer completes, his swordsmanship talent evolves into superior rank. Afterward, Yeshin heads toward the graveyard where his parents rest. Holding flowers in his hands, he quietly sits beside their graves and speaks gently to them. He tells them that he and Yeyu will soon leave Seaward Base behind, and before they go, he wanted to visit one last time. With a faint smile, he says they would probably be proud if they could see how far he's come now. Then suddenly, his expression sharpens. Something is approaching fast. In the next instant, a figure lands silently atop a nearby tombstone. An assassin, killing intent floods the graveyard instantly. Yeshin reacts immediately, summoning his blade as the assassin lunges forward. Their swords collide violently, sparks exploding through the darkness. The assassin remarks that Yeshin must really be extraordinary if he managed to defeat Sunfang. Annoyed, Yeshin quickly realizes exactly who he's dealing with, another Sun family dog. He coldly tells the man he's been expecting this visit for quite a while now. With a sharp counter, Yeshin knocks him backward, but the assassin keeps talking, arrogantly claiming Yeshin should feel grateful for surviving an entire month after the tournament instead of dying immediately afterward. Fed up with the endless chatter, Yeshin tells him to shut up already before vanishing forward at terrifying speed. Their blades clash repeatedly across the graveyard as sparks and sword slashes tear through the air non-stop. The battle grows increasingly violent. Then Yeshin notices something that instantly darkens his expression. The bouquet he brought for his parents has been damaged during the fight. That alone is enough. With a violent strike, he blasts the assassin backward. The man stumbles but continues talking, revealing that he was Sunfang's first sword teacher and that he loved the boy like a son. Yeshin couldn't care less. Ignoring the speech completely, he quietly walks over and picks up the damaged flowers before placing them carefully beside his parents' grave. Meanwhile, the assassin keeps mocking him, saying it's fitting they're already in a graveyard because this is where Yeshin himself will be buried too. He even offers to dig the grave personally if Yeshin kneels and begs. Still, Yeshin says nothing, until the man mentions Yahello. The moment he threatens to kill his sister and send her to hell next, something inside Yeshin finally snaps completely. The ground explodes beneath his feet. Pure rage floods his eyes. Without another word, Yeshin activates his apex tier speed talent and disappears entirely. In the blink of an eye, he reappears with a devastating kick directly into the assassin's stomach, launching him through the air. Then Yeshin catches him mid-flight by the hoodie and hurls him straight into a nearby mountain. The impact shakes the entire area violently. The assassin crashes down helplessly, barely managing to keep hold of his weapon as Yeshin slowly approaches through the dust. At that moment, realization finally hits him. Yeshin has already reached Grandmaster level. His pride struggles to accept it, but the truth is undeniable now. And seconds later, his eyes close forever. His story ends there. Yeshin calmly sits beside the corpse afterward and retrieves a hidden swordsmanship manual called Sword Veil from inside the man's blade. The weapon itself is also vastly superior to his old sword, so Yeshin immediately replaces his previous weapon without hesitation. Looking up afterward, he realizes night has already fully fallen. And the second he notices the time, his expression changes slightly. He immediately starts heading back down the mountain. Because there's one battle even Yeshin knows he can't win. Returning home late while Yahello is waiting. No sword skill on earth can defend against that.